I think it should be property.
Insofar as we live in a democratic society, people ought to have that ability to choose the path that they think is right for them. If you want to build a Christian community and you want to build a Christian family, you have the right to do that. Hold on, stop. Wait, who has? You're just wrong. If you can disagree if you want, but you're just wrong.
It is not irresponsible to travel with a kid.
I know I'm right on this. It's obvious.
You're the one women. I agree with you.
How is that dog shit?
If you're
How is that dog? It is a better rate than it was like 10, 15, 20 years ago.
The rate's not a comparison to what it was 10 or 15 years ago. No. Wrong. Okay, hold on. Jesus Christ. The reason why is because you don't have your brain doesn't have a fucking race. You don't have an internal experience of race. Right?
Thank you.
Exactly.
That's what I was
gonna
go to.
But
okay,
you do.
But that's why progressives would argue that you should, theoretically, should be able to transition races.
No, you can't transition race. That doesn't make sense. No, hold on. That'd be like transitioning ages.
Look at this.
Whoa.
Wait, what?
This is good.
James. I don't know how to feel about this.
What is that?
I thought it was.
What are we talking about?
Anything you'd like.
A war on women.
Talking about how much we hate women.
Okay, fuck that statement. This is my, first of all, James, nice tattoo, okay?
Thank you, appreciate that.
Okay, here's the society that we should build, okay? All of you are wrong, okay? No, I'm just kidding. I think this should be the goal, okay? We have some sexual traits that are varied between men and women. That much is true. Men tend to be taller, men tend to be stronger, women might be gravitating more towards like caregiver type things, psychology, et cetera, et cetera. We can recognize that there are some realities here and accept that that is the case. But just because we have to acknowledge that there are some differences, I don't think that means that we have to build a restrictive society that prevents somebody from stepping outside of those differences. There might be a gay dude that's really fucking good at making certain types of shoes. Let him make shoes. He doesn't have to live the life of a fucking hunter-gatherer that's ready to shoot and kill criminals breaking into his wife's home. He could live with his boyfriend in San Francisco and make awesome clothes. There might be a woman out there who, she does want to go into the military. She does the work. She lifts a lot. She's tall, fucking Brandon Tarth or whatever. Let her fucking do it if she can. I think that we deprive not only individuals in our society of the ability to pursue the best life that they can, but we also deprive ourselves as a society of their talents by boxing them into these really rigid gender roles just because like 85 or 90% of people happen to fit.
Well, because of that, that's why we have the WNBA that nobody watches, Destiny. So thanks a lot.
Didn't you say that you watched the WNBA in the debate with me?
I watch it because I crank it to it. I have a sexual fetish for female basketball players, but that's just me.
Good God.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's just a sexual, fetish.
You are one weird dude, Alex.
I didn't need to know that about you.
Well, I just like to let that be known that I'm into WNBA chicks, but everybody else isn't. I wish more people would be.
If women want to play in the WNBA, what's wrong with that? What, like, if you could have a world where there is a WNBA with someone really to play basketball, why not have that world?
The problem isn't that there's a women's league. I think the problem that right-wingers have is that the government subsidizes these things. So like the government has rules about funding for like men and women's
Holy shit,
sports.
my little baby brain needs your big
it's to the point where like these teams in college end up like recruiting women without their even knowledge, just putting them on the roster because they want to like get this funding. And like white women are like the #1 recipients of affirmative action. So I think what right wingers are saying is that like women should compete with men and have the freedom, this is what I'm saying, should have the freedom to participate in the economy and sports and etc. But they should do it on like an even playing field. And
sure. So like, I think by the way, you're wrong. I agree with what you're saying, but that's not what conservatives feel. That's going to be the Mott and Bailey bullshit argument they wheel out to try to pretend that's what they feel. But what they're really saying is, I think what they're saying is women are fundamentally equipped to do different things and they shouldn't even try to compete in the traditional domain of man. Now, if there was a conservative that said, listen, if women want to do these things, that's fine, but we should like trim back some of the affirmative action. Sure, that's fine. I think that in schools, we've seen that it has gone a little bit too far. Graduation rates are like 3-2 between women and men. It's like 60-40. That split is unreal. But the only reason we even know that split exists is because we used affirmative action to get there. You could argue that affirmative action has gone too far today, for sure, but it sure as fuck wasn't reality that men are 10 times better at school than women. That's not true. And we've seen that even absent some affirmative action, women are just as competitive in school, if not more so, than some men are, because there are things that men might be wired to do well, like hunt and gather, that makes them more predisposed to things like, say, ADHD that women don't have. Women make better students, right? You might say that men are these strong hunter-gatherers and they do all these type A things, quicker reflexes. That also might come with an increase of like risk-taking behavior. So when you look at a skill-based activity like driving, you might think like, wow, this is something that men are obviously better than women at. But then you look at accident rates and insurance rates, and maybe being like really physically capable, it doesn't make you a good driver. Maybe it's being a little bit slower and cautious. Maybe that's what makes you a safer driver. So I'm just saying that, like, yeah, if you want to trim back on some things, that's fine. But one, we can't pretend that affirmative action was a complete mistake, because we found out today that women are more capable than anybody thought ever possible. Number one, they've contributed to things like defense, space, engineering, medicine, et cetera, et cetera. And then two, if you do want to trim back a little bit, that's fine, but we should still leave the opportunity for people to compete where they can, so that we don't like deprive all of ourselves of those talents and contributions to society, in my opinion.
Here's the problem.
I agree 100%
Here's the problem.
with Destiny
Hang on.
there.
We've heard from the pro-woman side, and Destiny, I'm very disappointed. I thought you hated women like I did, but you're coming in here and telling us they should be rocket ship designers and building missiles and things like that.
He's not being menaced by their sexuality. You seem to be.
You're right. He's not afraid of strong women. I know, because that's
I
the
love
basis
strong
of this.
women.
But you
God,
seem
what
to be
a
afraid
great
of women,
God.
period.
So great. Oh my
Well,
God.
I'm not afraid of them. I just simply hate them. And I thought Destiny was on the same page, but that's okay. So the thing is, and I said this with Lauren when she was on earlier, I don't think the problem is necessarily that women are working, or even maybe the kind of work that women are doing. It really has to do with the segregation and the promotion of women in certain fields. The problem is the co-ed nature of what women are doing right now, that women are intermixed with men throughout the society. The problem is that women are pursuing career and education at the expense of marriage. And if you have a traditional view of sexuality and sexual morality, this is almost necessarily a problem. The more that women are educated, the more that women are in the workplace, the lower the fertility rate, the longer it takes for women to get married. This is a real problem for a society that's trying to retain sexual morality. It's a problem where men are supposed to express their sexuality in a virtuous way. And then also the problem is in some instances, the domains that women are in that I think are a total construct of affirmative action. I think that, if women want to be, researching or whatever, I think you create a women's division of that, like you have a women's division of sports and women's division of everything. I think the principal objection is not that women create value in the society. Women can create value in society a lot of ways. I think that primarily that is through child rearing. In the old days, they would answer the phones and be the secretaries and school teachers. And, I think that, again, when that's segregated, maybe that's appropriate. The question is maybe not necessarily could that be expanded to other things. I think the question is that being pushed to the detriment of motherhood? Is that being pushed to the detriment of regeneration of society? Is that being pushed too forcefully, artificially, or forced at all? And then the problem is when it's not segregated, does that create a problem with temptation, sexual assault, all this ambiguity that you see? Me Too movement, all of that is because of men and women working so closely together in the workforce. That's a source of adultery. That's a source of temptation.
Nick,
source of
I'm hearing a lot of
You're interrupting again. You're interrupting.
Yeah, I am interrupting.
Why are you interrupting?
Like 10 minutes.
I hate interrupting both of you, but just to hear from anybody that we haven't heard from in a while on the left side.
Yeah, so I again will say that it's not the case that women were just answering phones, or that historically women were just doing easy work. Women were working out in the farms. Actually, in fact, a large percentage of women still today in the global economy work in farms, and they have historically, and that's not easy work. These are 10-hour, 12-hour days. So it never was the case that women were not working or women were doing easy jobs. They were just doing different jobs than men. And when it came to things like farming, which is such a huge industry globally, that is just something that men and women both did, and children participated too.
But the farm is domestic.
Real quick.
I have to give a shout out to Destiny, because he proved his point perfectly. He said that there was a Mott and Bailey going on, and that's exactly what Nick did.
Sure, but that's great.
We
That's
started
great.
the conversation saying that we should enslave women, and now he's basically moved over to like mine and Lauren Southern's.
Yeah, they should be. I think they should be property, essentially, but
So say
should
that,
they not be able
That's
to
fine.
be
That's good. But that's
deployed
good.
in the
I love
society?
that. I love that. I like that. Right? We can talk.
go.
We can attack the Mott and the Bailey. Okay, that's fine. So moving the conversation one step further. Okay, this is something that we have to recognize. We're not having a conversation right now about women's roles in society. We're having a conversation about the structure of society and whether or not we want a more liberal world order where people kind of have a right to choose what they want to do, or if we want to have a more Christian nationalist, I don't want to say fascist, but like, because I'm not trying to be insulting, but if we should have a world order where people are kind of forced to inhabit these gender roles that are building good Christian societies. And the reality is that insofar as we live in a democratic society, people ought to have that ability to choose the path that they think is right for them. If you want to build a Christian community and you want to build a Christian family, you have the right to do that. And this is what makes things like capitalism and liberalism so great. A lot of different structures can exist within that structure. It's very flexible. Whereas in a Christian nationalist structure, the more liberal world order couldn't exist at all because you guys would necessarily crush it through like legislation.
Yeah, I totally disagree. I think currently the way we live is actually more of this sort of fascist sort of society where women are being told all the time, like, if you aren't working in the HR department, like, you will have no value. You're going to be depressed in 5 years. I think we actually have a more society trying to ingrain women not to want to pursue womanhood and family and doing all of these sort of things. If I'm saying like more of that worldview he was discussing. I'm not saying personally I think it's fascism. I'm saying that's kind of the lens he
What I'm saying is that we, in our society, the model society that we're supposed to build, it might be the case today that we push people too far to the left. That might be the case. But the answer to that isn't that we need to shove everybody into families and say, hey, you're going to be an incubator for 15 children because that's your role, because you need to breed more for the white race, which is the kind of the point of view that.
But the issue is like right now, like everyone's saying, like I talk to so many women and even men, the way in which they view having children is extremely toxic. They say your life is over. You have no freedom now.
Because that's what it means. Because that's what it means.
Societal thing.
No, that's what it means to have. That is
only education.
That is So
that's what it means.
It doesn't have to mean your life is over and your freedom's over.
Hold on, hold on, stop. Wait, who has kids on this panel?
2 seconds. Just because
I have kids.
Okay, yeah. So trust me, as an absentee father, I'm an expert on this. Okay.
My minions like children.
Okay, hold on. So especially as a woman, but in most families, having children sets you on a different path in life. You do lose a lot of freedom, and you do lose the ability to do a lot of things you would have otherwise. Ask any man ever. You say, hold on, wait, let me finish my thing. Let me finish my statement. If you ask any man ever, okay, hey, do you want to give up the most important career years of your life to stay at home for 7 or 8 years to take care of a child? No man would ever accept that deal. Fuck no. I'm not like from 20 to 28. You want me to sacrifice my whole life? But that's the decision that we've kind of forced upon, or it's biologically forced upon women. You can't be surprised that given the opportunity to live another life, given the opportunity to pursue a life of your own, an identity independent of your family, that a lot of women would choose to do that. I don't think that's surprising at all. As a man, I totally understand that. And I think there are a lot of women that are coming to understand that as well. Women have made huge sacrifices because of the biological reality thrust upon them, where they have to sacrifice their life for men to be able to work and have a family. Women don't have the option to work and have a family. So given the ability to choose, I don't think it's that crazy that they would choose to do otherwise.
Yeah, I just think that
that's not my point. My point
is Stardust, just because she's been so patient. Go ahead, Stardust.
Yeah, I think also just the very fact, Marie, that you're kind of reinforcing something that's pretty toxic that actually leads to a lot of women feeling like they don't fit in with motherhood because they feel like they should be loving every part of motherhood. They should be loving their children when really women get sick of their children. They want to get out of the fucking house. Being around children 24/7 is driving them nuts, and that's totally normal as a parent. Like at a certain point, it's going to drive you up the wall.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't remember arguing that like you have to love every part of anything because life is hard in general. Like no one's going to be like, oh yeah, I love every part of my life. Like cleaning the toilets. Oh, great. I love that so much. No, I'm saying right now in society, the idea thrust upon couples, not even just women, not just men, couples, people who are choosing to be together. I will talk to couples about, hey, are you guys going to have kids? They're in their late 20s and they're like, no, I don't want my life to be over. Why does your life have to be over? Why can't you look at this as a new journey? My mom traveled the world with 2 kids and a dog.
Let's hear from
That is abstinence-only education. That is literally propaganda that they have been fed by the school system growing up. That's why they're saying it like that. It's not true. You know it's not true. I know it's not true. But that's why.
No, I know, but it is being thrust upon a lot of people, and it is like the societal model that we are being presented, as a young person. I don't know how old everyone is.
Hold on, are you a Christian person?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm like nothing. I'm like, I don't know.
I'm sorry. So I'm just trying to understand this, okay? So when you have children, the life that you lived before is over. You have a new set of responsibilities. You have a new set of risks that you can and cannot take. And you have a new direction that you have to go down in your life. There's a new journey that you take. This, if you believe in a structure of a family, you necessarily believe that this is the case when you have children. If you're a couple, you make a lot of money. Is it DINK? They call it dual income, no kids. You're traveling like once every 3 months to go out of the country and everything. If you have children, that life ends. Now, some people make that choice.
It doesn't have to. I don't agree with that.
You're just wrong. If you can disagree if you want, but you're just wrong.
It is not irresponsible to travel with a kid.
I know I'm right on this. It's obvious. Obviously,
you need to make sacrifices.
You don't. Yeah, you have to.
Of course, you're not going to not make sacrifices. But when you get into a couple, of course, that single life you live is gone. That's just part of life, is having new chapters of life.
I think what you're saying is that it's a good sacrifice.
Yeah,
so like,
some people can make that choice.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I think that we are propagandized to a certain extent to believe in this kind of like consumerist way of living that is very like consumptive, and just like we make as much money as possible to like spend it on expensive travel and whatnot. I think a lot of people do like miss out on that family building. So I think you could make the argument that it's a good sacrifice, because what you're sacrificing is this very like temporary sort of pleasure of consuming things for building something greater. But like it is ultimately a big change, and it must be if you want to provide what is necessary. And
currently a lot of people think we're like living in downtown Chicago is a lot more fulfilling than say getting like a little house that has like a nice yard and having a garden and having a family. A lot of people look at that because of the way in which society is moving, of like having no kids and
so like let them do.
Yeah, of course, for some people, but that's the outlier.
And we live in a democratic society. You have to make that argument. It's the onus is on you. If you believe that's a lifestyle that other people ought to live, then the onus is on you to prove it. Like show like, hey, this is a lifestyle that's more fulfilling. You either preach this through your communities, you preach it through your churches, you do it through the media that you have people engage in, whatever you want. Make the argument for that lifestyle. And there will be people that'll be like, you know what? I want to make this sacrifice. I want to have a kid. I want to get rid of like what I'm doing, in the past. But you can't just expect everybody to automatically throw away what is otherwise. It could be like really fabulous, really fun, really carefree lifestyles, and say like, because we need to keep breeding to like forward our race, or because there's some like weird imperative like religiously or biologically or whatever otherwise, you can't just say that people have to do that if you can't make the argument for it.
Well, I can make the argument, and I would say,
before you do that, I'd like to just clarify something.
Hang on, can I jump in here? We've heard from the opposition.
Let Jimmy do it. He hasn't spoken for a while.
Thank you. Yeah, fuck you. I love you. I'm sorry.
Whoa.
So Marie. So let's say we were to grant you everything you said, right? Hey, and I think we did kind of earlier, right? We said, hey, maybe there's some overcorrection happening in some parts of society. We went to like academia. Maybe people are being encouraged not to settle down until they're like too far in their adulthood or whatever the fuck. Maybe you're correct about this, right? But how does that amount to there being a war on women? So people being encouraged to take to pursue lifestyles that you think are detrimental. How does that amount to there being a war on women in this country?
Well, I wasn't really making that argument, but that argument can be made that if we are putting women down this path of being in HR and thinking that's going to create happiness, and then they just get so far along, we're having children.
But we're not really putting them down
become more unsafe.
Oh yeah, but how
really? Like I really do think we are, because when there's all these influencers,
just to be sure we hear both of you, just to be sure you're separate.
Well, I'm just saying, how does selling a lifestyle, which is basically what's happening, it's just like, hey, don't settle down and have kids when you're 18 years old. Maybe explore your options, maybe pursue a career, whatever the fuck. They're basically just selling a lifestyle, and some people agree they like the product that's being sold to them, so they pursue it. And so how does that, them choosing of their own free will to go down this lifestyle path that you think is going to lead to them having like a long-term negative outcomes or whatever, how is this us forcing anything onto them? They can choose, like Destiny said, to do the trad wife thing. They can choose to have 10 kids, start helping out kids the moment they hit 18 years old. Right? We're not saying that, hey, you can't do the trad wife thing, or you should be shamed for doing the trad wife thing. We're just saying, hey, you shouldn't try to force people into boxes, and we should provide the options and let people go where they want to go.
No, I'm not arguing that you shouldn't, that like this is something like you should force upon people. I'm actually arguing that the opposite is actually in a way being societally forced onto people. That was my argument. I'm not saying we should force anything. I'm arguing that sort of lifestyle of living in a city, these are the things that are actually being forced upon people because they are made to believe this is the only way to live. This is the only way to get a job. This is the only way.
But like,
if you're going to make the argument that this type of lifestyle is being forced onto women because it's kind of glorified or whatever, we can make the same argument before women were entering the workforce in the same way, right? We can make the same argument that like, oh, well, we glorified homemaking and women are kind of being indoctrinated, and now
does that make it so that their biological clock is going out if they're going into homemaking, or is there actually like an adverse effect actually being happening?
What do you mean by biological?
Well, yeah, there are studies that show that women who are stay at home are actually like more likely to suffer from depression, things like that, right? This whole idea that women are happier at home.
You're
is a
telling
complete
me
myth.
women who have like a stable home are more depressed than women who live in the city?
They don't have a stable home. A lot of the time they have like a more economic stability because they don't have their own source of income.
Yeah,
people who are married and who are religious are more happy on average. But like, I think the problem here is that like we're using this language called like forced, and like we have to move away from that because it's not true that women are being forced, but it is true that women are encouraged to go into certain fields. And the reason why we know this is because we're having this panel right now, and one of the topics is the wage gap, and the reason, a large reason for that wage gap, is the choice of field that men and women get into. And so we look at these gaps, right? The gap in income or gap in STEM, and we say that this is necessarily bad, that women are not, reaching the same standards as men. And it's not necessarily bad because it's fine if women are choosing to do other things with their life. So like, I think that that's what we should focus on, is that like, it's not forced per se, but it is obviously encouraged.
Yeah, and we got to keep in mind that what happened on the other side historically, if we want to talk about history, is that 100 years ago, women didn't have the right to work in the same way that men do, right? Or did, right? They didn't have the right to vote in the same way that men did, right? So that was something actually being enforced upon women through government policy to keep them in a certain box, right? And now the box is gone, and women I think all that society is doing right now is encouraging women to pursue these other options that they now have access to, right? So I don't think anybody's being forced to do anything. And if you're saying, hey, these women are being sold like a bill of goods or whatever, and it's actually bad for them, sure, that's great, but make the argument, and maybe people will listen to you. I don't think there's anything being forced upon anybody. And Nick, I think you're gonna have to demonstrate for your side of the argument, because I think you do want to put women back into that box. You're going to have to demonstrate why that box is beneficial to us today, right? And
I tried to do that earlier, and then I got cut off by that girl. And I was going to answer Stephen, my best friend, who posed the question and said, why should they not be allowed to do something that's fulfilling or something like that? Here's the thing. It's not about women's fulfillment. And the other thing is, it's also not an individual society. I'll just say it very plainly. It's not a question of, are women happy, not happy? Are they fulfilled, not fulfilled? The feminist society isn't working. And we know that it's not working because of one reason alone. Family formation is not happening. The fertility rate is below the replacement level. Society is not regenerating itself. You could say that maybe the best metric, the surest metric, maybe the most relevant, or one of the only relevant metrics is, are men and women getting together and forming families successfully, staying together and having kids, because that is what you need to perpetuate the society. That is what you need to imbue culture from one generation to the next. That's what you need to have a next generation, is for men and women to get together. And ever since, and you can see this across the developed world, and some people say this is because of the economy. Some people say this is because of technology, but and certainly those things correlate. The fact is that all of these societies where women have this role in the workplace, where women are being educated, where there's co-ed workplaces and education, families are not being formed and the next generation is not proceeding. Now, the same cannot be said in the Middle East. The same cannot be said in Africa. Same cannot be said, well, increasingly it is, but historically in Latin America. The feminist idea is failing basically on that metric alone. And so if you have a society that's blowing up and exploding because it's shrinking every year, because men and women are not getting together, because women are going out and exploring work and men are not interested in that, and then they're not forming families and not having kids, you don't have a society. That is the quintessential problem. And why are you having that problem? You're having that problem because men and women need to be getting together when they're fertile.
Nick, and why do you want to live in the Middle East?
Wait, hold on. No, stop. Why do you think
honestly, I would. I said that on my show last week. They're building the line in Saudi Arabia. It sounds awesome. There's no alcohol. Women can't drive. You're forced to wear burqas.
So you are
it's a super
there.
city.
Muting you guys real quick. Remember, I said that conservatives will pivot towards this. They'd be okay with living in the Middle East or living in Africa. This is really important to understand.
But Nick, wait 1 second. So Nick, so Japan has a lower birth rate than the United States does, right? They also have a very patriarchal society, right? That does push women into, I think, traditional Japanese roles, right? That are I think pretty similar to like traditional Western roles. So why do you think their birth rate, given that they have a much more patriarchal society that is being enforced, why do you think their birth rate is so much lower than ours?
I don't think that's entirely true. I think that women are working in Japan, and I don't really know that much about
It's just the fact
Japan.
that they're working? Like that's it.
Well, isn't that kind of the question of this debate?
It's
is the role
not.
of women in society?
It's not, though.
Women are, yes, it
okay.
absolutely is. And women are, you just talked about women being given the option to be educated and work, and you say it's not relevant if women are to a large extent being educated and working in Japan. That's the principle. That is one of the things that defines modernity, along with technology, along with education. It is the expansion of the role of women. That's how you classify it. That's why we say Africa's primitive.
I think when we talk about this,
a bigger
I think
predictor is the welfare state.
So I think one of the big philosophical question here, and people from the left run from it, I don't think we should. I think it's a thing to talk about, right? Is there's this unspoken assumption that we ought to be slaves to the continuing of society. And I think that assumption can be challenged. I don't think that you have the right to tell 50% of the population that we are necessarily going to force you to live a certain type of lifestyle, because if you don't, then within 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 years, it might be the case that humanity goes extinct. I don't think that that's acceptable, that you are forced to carry the burden of the existence of the future of the human race through the way that you live individually in your life. It might be the case that at some point far off into the future that like having a smaller population becomes, some sort of negative, but I don't think we're at that point right now, right? It would probably reduce energy expenditure around the world and make it easier for people to live in different areas. Maybe our cities wouldn't be as crowded, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think that you need a stronger argument than the birth rates are negative. I don't think that in and of itself is an argument that's strong enough to force people to commit to a certain type of lifestyle.
Well, it's not about forcing them. It's just about recognizing objectively the success of the feminist project. And if you could say that a society is succeeding, if you could say that a society is thriving and vital, you would say that all of those things are bound up in whether or not families are being formed and kids are being made. So it's not to say that we're slaves to continuing the generations. It's to say that's the metric of a successful society. Because the societies that are doing that will be around.
But that is what you were saying, though, right? Because you're saying that I'm not saying we have to be slaves to like having families. I'm just saying that we need to have like successful societies. But what you said, your words verbatim, your idea of a successful society is one that's growing in population. Your measure of that was
it will not exist.
Wait, hold on. But you don't strengthen a society just by having more people. There are tons of different ways to strengthen societies. We can talk about it sociologically. We can talk about it culturally.
Yeah, but that's a baseline. That's baseline.
Hold on. You need strong if it doesn't exist. And
no. Hold on.
Only exists if people have children. Okay. So like you can't have a strong society in the first place.
If you want, open Wolfram Alpha or get a fucking math friend and you could plug in the functions, do the math. We're not going to lose everybody in 2 years or in 2 generations or in 200 years. Okay, so the idea that in 10,000 years humanity might go extinct, therefore half the population right now needs to be forced to live a certain lifestyle. Otherwise, we're going to run the risk of not being able to repopulate the planet.
We're doing that with the climate agenda.
No, we're not doing that with the climate agenda.
That's exactly what your side is trying to change the way in which people live. Because of something
changing how people live is not the same as telling people they can't have children. I don't know how you're even making that connection.
You're telling people they can't have certain cars anymore. You're telling people that every year they have to go to the DMV and get their emissions checked for God knows why.
That's because, first of all, because
things like the consumption of goods.
Speaking at the same time.
Things like getting your emissions checked are fine, okay? If you were in LA like 30 or 40 years ago, you couldn't even fucking see outside. It looked like Beijing. The smog was so bad. So some of these like climate policies.
Me with my 2-year-old car, I need to get my emissions checked.
Steven,
if you have a 2-year-old car that passes your emission, if you have a 2-year-old car that passes the emission check, then you're fine. You go and you get it checked and you're good, right? Like people, I was almost really sexist. I'm sorry. People can neglect their cars.
Go there, explore that.
No,
explore
I won't. People can neglect their cars for a long time. Just because your car is 2 years old doesn't necessarily mean it would pass an emissions check. You might not maintain your car. You might drive around all day with a check engine light. You might have a catalytic converter or an O2 sensor that doesn't fucking work. Having your car emissions checked is not the end of the world. It's not a bad thing. And there's nothing at ends with saying we ought to have like a cleaner, healthier society, atmosphere, air, oceans. That like there's no that doesn't not work. And then you also say like we don't have to force women to breed to maintain society.
Steven,
it's not like an all or nothing thing.
You so much. You're so right about society and about the environment. But like, why are you right? Because we care about future generations.
No.
We care about the environment being good. And like societies are great when people are willing to care about generations ahead of them and not have this time orientation of like 4 to 8 years.
You're playing a word game. Hold on. We care about the future generations that will exist. We don't care about making a certain number of people in the future generation. Those are two incredibly different things. Hold on. We care about the people that are going to come after us on this planet. That's what we mean when we say future generations. We don't care that we're like committed to create a baseline number of people to go forward in the next generation. That's not what that means.
It's not about creating a specific number. It's about having people at all, right?
Wait, how many people do you think we're losing?
We're losing a significant amount of people, Destiny. The only thing that's offsetting the loss in population is immigration.
China's population is going to halve over the next few decades.
Let me give you a chance to finish.
Wait, you said the world population will halve in the next few decades?
China's.
You think China's population will halve in the next few decades?
Yeah, because their demographics are like insane.
Hold on.
And they're not having a lot of children.
They're not allowed to have a lot of children.
Is there, I don't know if China doesn't know. Is their population going to have or is their birth rate going to have?
No, population.
China is the most populous country on Earth.
Wait, hold on. I think we need to justify using birth rates as like an indicator of a thriving society in the first place, right? Because it seems like you listed off like countries in the Middle East and Africa, but the countries that you're lifting off tend to be countries with a very poor quality of life and very low life expectancy.
Hold on, I'm trying to look these numbers up. Does anybody have a projection for China's population? Is it going to be half in does anybody have like a link to projected population of China?
With all these first world nations, as the quality of life increases, as the GDP goes up, as these countries modernize, the birth rate declines, right, across the board, right? So if we can see that the countries where people are reporting happier lives, better quality of lives, where they have like more modernized societies, are the ones with the lower birth rates.
Yeah, you're restating what I said.
Why are we pointing to the ones that have worse quality of lives with their higher birth rates as like an indicator of success?
Because the fertility rate is a direct consequence of the relationship and the relative roles between men and women. That's why. And so, you're just restating what I said. Yes, it tracks with technological progress. Yes, it tracks with economic development. But the fertility rate is principally concerned with family formation and men and women getting together. And you're right. Africa is a primitive civilization. The Middle East is more primitive than the West. That's absolutely true. And the thing is, they're going to be here in 1,000 years on this trajectory because they're growing, they're increasing, and we're decreasing. And I think Destiny, hang on. Destiny, I think you severely underestimate the extent to which the population is shrinking. In the United States, the only reason that our demographic collapse is not moving very quickly is because it's being offset by a massive amount of immigration every year. That's a separate thing about population refreshment or replacement.
Oh, the one-child policy.
But if we didn't have that, if you look at the white birth rate, it's far lower than the combined birth rate of the minority non-white populations, being offset by immigration. Japan is in a demographic crisis.
On hate speech.
I don't know how many years. That's not hate speech. I don't know how many years in the future. It's just math. I don't know how many years in the future it will take for Canada and Japan and China to have no children, but the population reduction is significant. And the point is not to say, well, we need to do this so society is a certain kind of size. In terms of rate, this is a good metric of whether a society is succeeding. If you could say that male and female relationships are good and optimal, you'll say that families are being formed because that means that they're attracting each other and having children. If they're not doing that, then the relationships are poor. And the point is simply to say there are consequences for saying we'll just give women these menu options and women can pick what they like. That's fine and well, but we tried that and now it's having society-wide consequences.
I don't think.
I disagree. Okay, so if anything, we used to. Sorry. So if anything, again, people used to work much longer hours, and it actually was worse for the family. There are higher children dying. Children used to die much more. Women and men used to work ridiculous amounts of hours, and they would still reproduce more. I believe the decreasing birth rates is more of a sign of increased wealth rather than work, right? Because we actually work 8-hour days now, or most people do. But a maternal mortality also used to be super high. And so if anything, I would say that this idea, Nick, that you're saying that feminism has created this decline in birth rates, I don't think it's necessarily true. Feminism actually pushed for maternity leave. So women, when they were in the workplace, could take off time for their pregnancies and to attend to their families. So I disagree with this entire sentiment that you have.
I think a much better prediction is the role of the welfare state. The thing is that people used to have children because they wanted to have people in their life that were connected to them that would help them as they aged. That was a very common reason to have children, and people had lots of children for this reason. But now we have the government that's able to implement pension programs and all of these systems that make it so people aren't so concerned about having children because they know that they can save, they know they can put money away, and they know they have these organizations that are going to back them up. So I think that the data shows that a much better predictor is the role of the government as in welfare to birth rates.
I don't think people make this.
No, go Dustin.
I don't think people make decisions on having children based on them taking care of them in future timelines, except for maybe really.
Yes, they do.
Hey, don't interrupt.
That's a very common thing.
Steve is talking.
That is very common.
Seriously, woman-splaining.
He's done it too.
Okay.
Yeah, straight up. Let Steven
Sorry.
speak.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
Let me
make a stronger statement. Nobody is deciding in Western countries.
We're gonna go to Alex.
Yeah, in Western countries, people aren't having kids to take care of them as they get old.
Yeah. Why?
Right.
Because they don't need to.
Because we live in civilized societies where you're not going to die on the fucking street if you don't have a kid,
state.
right? No, not because of the welfare state, right?
And effectively, you can't
have. Hold on, you can't have the conservative. You can't have the conservative argument on both sides. Okay, you can't say that on one end the welfare state is disincentivizing the birth of children, and that's why our replacement rates are low, and then on the other hand, it's also mysteriously incentivizing the birth of black children out of wedlock.
I'm not making that argument.
You might not be making that argument, but the type of argument that you're making, that argument is made on every single side. Okay, we can't say that we're simultaneously pumping out children or not pumping out children because of welfare, not because of welfare at the same time. So I think that when people are making the choice to have children, and I'm pretty sure that the research shows this, that we can start digging these studies we need to, but I'm pretty sure that it's when people feel like they're in a comfortable spot in their life that they're ready to have kids. I think that's whether or not you can afford a home, I think is one of them, and whether or not you have good financial stability, I think is another big one. It's not I need to have kids or else when I'm old, nobody's going to take care of me, unless you're literally in a society that has is so bare bones. And I don't mean the difference between Canada and the United States and Sweden. I mean the difference between fucking Sweden and some country that has 6 ongoing genocides. Okay, that's the difference.
Yes,
that's the disparity we're talking about.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, hold on. But then the prescription they're giving me is we need to go back to some fucking prehistoric fucking bullshit where we're running around in tribes trying to shit out 20 kids because 10 of them are going to die in childbirth and the other 10 are going to take care of us when we're old, and the fucking voodoo witch lady's trying to remove our kidney to sacrifice for some fucking rain. Okay, I don't know if we want to go back to that society.
The only other parent on
let Alex go. Let Alex go.
Hold on, Alex hasn't gone for a while. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't been able to talk, but one thing that nobody's refuted, and I think we should talk about this on the conservative side too, when we talk about the war on women, what about trans athletes that are biological males like Leah Thomas
that's another debate
against women? No, but I mean, isn't that a war on women? Why can guys with a penis that still is into, women?
Oh my God! Just go watch our debate. You already.
Well, I'm just saying, isn't that so? You don't think that's a war on women, Brendan?
No, I think you're wasting your time. We've got other shit to talk about here.
You're letting guys compete against women in sports, taking away scholarships. You think that's okay? You don't think that's a war on women?
So no one's taking away scholarships. This is a totally different debate. Just go watch that other debate.
It's about a war on women, Brenton. So if you're letting guys take a pill that says that they're having a hormone therapy and then they get to compete against women, look at Leah Thomas, ranked 457, then became the #1 NCAA ranked swimmer in
How are you still stuck on this?
Wait, hold on.
Because that is a war on women, Brenton. All we're talking about is birth rates when I'm trying to bring up concrete examples of how there is a war on women. And I'm concerned conservative. And normally I probably wouldn't agree with that, but I think it's very obvious when you're letting trans people compete against biological females. Men, we already talked about the strength. Men have much more strength than women. So it's unfair. That is a disadvantage for women in sports, that they're probably going to lose their scholarship. And then if they speak out against it, they can lose their scholarship. So not only is there a war physically in the sport, they're muted. They're Orwellian society. They can't even speak about it. So yeah, I think there's a war on women from competing and speaking out against the trans movement.
Yeah, and Brenton,
I would
to be
say,
go ahead, Stardust. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that Doobie said earlier that I think Doobie put it really well, that, you know, there is some level of an attack on the identity of a woman from both sides of the political sphere. And I think it's wise for us to like at least acknowledge that there's at least a little bit of that.
Yeah, I don't think we gain anything by shutting down.
So I win the debate.
It is totally within the scope of the war on women, quote unquote, right? Like the attack.
Fuck, there's a lot of people who are driving me crazy.
Shut it down is like really unproductive.
No one is attacking a concept of womanhood. What's happening is that womanhood is.
What are you talking about? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They're saying biological men with a penis can be a woman. You're saying gender. You think, yeah, because you don't believe in biology.
Yes, I believe in
saying.
I believe in
because you're
science.
not based in reality. That's not science. Science is a testicle and dick. A testicles and dick. That's science.
All right, weirdo. But I got it the same way I give you a chance, Alex. I got to give Brenton a chance to quick respond.
Yeah. Okay, so we are not destroying, in just the same way that gay marriage does not threaten straight marriage, trans women do not threaten regular women. We are expanding a concept to fit with a changing world. Now, this has affected ways that we run sports in a number of ways. It's also affected ideas like, you know, how do you handle bathrooms? These are questions that we need to answer coming forward, but it is not going to do any good to anyone for us to simply act like this is a zero-sum game between womanhood. Just because a woman can become a man after HRT and is treated like one, that doesn't hurt me as a man. It doesn't hurt anybody here. And
it hurts. If you let a lesbian with a penis go into the women's locker room, that hurts them because they can sexually oogle women. And that is a real thing. Trans women that still have a dick, just like Leah Thomas, going in the women's locker room and changing, that is a war on women. That's disgusting.
Dude,
Men should not be allowed to go in there.
This is just you, Alex.
Wait a minute. I think we can say that so I would make the statement, like I personally believe that trans women, yes, are women, but there are still issues that affect biological women in a unique way.
Can a trans woman have a period? Can a trans woman get pregnant?
I'm not disagreeing. Alex, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. Okay, so there are ways in which biological women still have unique issues that they face that trans women don't. And yes, there's like a biological advantage that some trans women have over biological women, right? So I think it's important for us to acknowledge that. I don't understand the whole discourse about trying to like say it's exactly the same. We know it's not the exact same experience, right?
No one's saying it's exactly the same. When people say trans women are women, what they're saying is that trans women should be considered women within our society.
Yes, and they are, and I agree with that. So I think trans women should be considered women, but I think just like we do with any other group of women, we also can acknowledge that there are different realities based on your biological makeup, based on the life that you lived, and so there are different categories within women that are going to affect certain women differently, and there are ways that biological women are going to be affected by certain
you just
things.
said there's multiple realities. That's not real. There's not multiple realities.
Okay, I phrased it wrong. I could have phrased it wrong. I'm so sorry.
And Iron Man and all that is one reality. Okay, as a man's world.
Is it okay?
Bitch.
Because Brenton, I think
Stardust.
Yeah.
Brenton, I think
everybody's saying about the way I'm saying woman. I'm saying it the right way.
You're saying woman.
It's women.
You're saying woman, but like it's plural.
You want me to say women? Women. I can say women, but
women is the plural of
person. Hold on, but Brenton, I think dismissing this is like Alex's obsession or something is, I think, like not real, right? I think so. What do you say to like a leftist, for example, who comes to you and says, "Hey, I think that trans women in transitioning to their new gender are actually reinforcing a ton of patriarchal stereotypes about what it means to be a woman, what it means to look like a woman, what it means to speak like a woman, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? They're actually reinforcing the patriarchal social roles just through their existence, and your embrace of them is actually helping that patriarchy along, this thing that they've been trying to dismantle for decades. So what do you say to a leftist that would say that to you? Because that is a very common position among feminists.
Among TERFs, but yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so what
feminists.
I would say to that,
okay, sure.
TERFs are not feminists.
Yes, they are.
All right.
God.
So anyway, what I would say to that specifically is, first of all, patriarchy is not the only thing that is holding you down, and you should know this if you're a feminist, because kyriarchy overrules patriarchy. Kyriarchy is a more, I guess.
Are you mansplaining feminism to me right now? No, I'm just.
No, I'm mansplaining it to the TERF. So, like, what's happening there is that you have to look and keep your head in the game, like, and see what is going to benefit women and the rest of society more. Is it going to benefit women and the rest of society more to attack and abuse a minority within that society, or is it going to benefit us more to I guess, broaden our idea of gender, to broaden our idea of what a woman's role is and what a woman is? The more options you have, the better it's going to be. And people will then be able to work with others to bring out the best in themselves and others. So the idea, I can understand why someone might feel attacked by the idea of women changing, just like I can see someone who might feel attacked by the idea of men changing and taking on different roles. But the fact is, this is society. This is life. This is humanity. Change is the only universal constant, and you can never get away from that.
But that doesn't mean we need to change all the time, anytime like a proposed
Certainly
change
not.
comes up.
Yeah,
And
no,
so
I
these women,
hate this.
please,
I
so these women,
hate
these
the
women who
idea
are,
that-
oh God, please,
Yeah, go
I love
ahead,
you,
Toby.
Tash, but I think it's I think you just demonstrated, right, how you kind of dismissed the fact that I think that a lot of trans women, when they attempt to pass as a woman, are actually reinforcing the stereotypes, right? That seems to be the case, right? And you said, hey, well, they need to realize that it's
why
not
do you
just
think they need to pass?
that even though trans
Okay, but
women
there
are
are
reinforcing
plenty-
patriarchal stereotypes, what you should actually be focused on is the kyriarchy and how that's also oppressing you, right? But this is still reinforcing patriarchal stereotypes.
If
right?
you're attacking kyriarchy, you're not. Patriarchy is a subgroup in kyriarchy.
If you are saying that, hey, also you need to be okay with what they consider to be males, men, being in your spaces, being in your sports, being in women's abuse shelters, being in women's prisons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But maybe having access to grants in education that are formed and put in place for women to try to knock through the glass ceiling, whatever the fuck, that the patriarchy has put in place in the past. If you're giving these men access to all these things that were meant for women, you are actually damaging women in some way. So you need to deal with that argument. It doesn't make sense to just dismiss it as like Alex's obsession or to tell them to focus on the kyriarchy. That's not. I don't think that's productive.
The idea,
And again,
anytime
we bring up every time we bring up biological woman, it's not that somebody is saying that trans women are not women, but anytime you bring up biological women and their unique struggles that they face, people automatically assume that you're excluding trans women from the status of woman when you're not. There is just a difference in what biological women have to deal with. There's a biological disadvantage to being a woman. You are so
That's for real.
yeah.
Now that's true. That's the truest thing I've heard
also,
all night.
and again, I would say that I don't see why us talking about how biological women have their own unique struggles is somehow excluding trans women from the label of woman. We're not doing that.
It's not, but the problem is that bigots will use the word biological.
So we just stop talking about actual issues because bigots will take advantage of the language or whatever.
No, but you just have to be careful when you're having that conversation, because a lot of people just sadly aren't very smart and don't think in this in a very nuanced manner. So
but your solution is to shut it down.
I
was to dismiss it and shut it down. Right. So you're dismissing and shutting down the real concerns of women in our society to support like what 1%
So I am
of the
dismissing the
population?
concerns of one tiny group of radicals.
No, that's not true.
That is true.
That is no.
Yeah,
I
not
think
true at
you're-
all. Like elections are going to be won or lost on this.
If you say so. I
Absolutely. Yeah. Like
This is not a small amount of people. You are a man, so you may not actually understand how women feel about this issue, because it's
I understand
always
how right-wing
men
women feel about this issue.
it's not
Left-wing
just
women
right
too.
wing. Are you kidding? It's a lot of
Left-wing
It's
women
really
too.
frustrating for me.
Exactly.
One second, one person
Listen,
at a time.
I'm trans, right? And presumably you are like saying these things for my benefit, but
No.
like for the benefit of trans people.
I speak the truth as I see it. I don't say it for anyone's benefit.
Not trying to help trans people, but I'm very frustrated by like the left's decision to try to like weaponize trans identity towards gender abolition. And I said this earlier, but like if you want to make a distinction between like cis women or trans women, or call like trans women like galoopa-goops, or like whatever the word is, whatever the sound orientation coming out of your mouth is, like I don't think it matters. Like what matters to me ultimately is that I can like wear the kind of clothes that I want to wear. Like that's the important thing. And I'm really frustrated by like people trying to make it so much more than it is. It's not that complicated. And like I don't think that trans women need to be like institutionally allowed into every space that cis women have ever been in. That's not the purpose of like my life or my activism or what I'm trying to get by like just transitioning. And so I think that like it really does people a disservice when you turn them into political pawns and try to use like a specific person's,
and also say
but
it's
I'm
only
not
one
doing
type
that.
of woman
Britton,
that
do you think
feels
trans
this
women
way.
should have access to free abortions, Britton?
Well, I think everyone should have access to free abortions.
Even trans women. See, that shows you how unbased in reality you are if you think a trans woman
No,
can
I'm
even
an
get pregnant.
anarchist,
So
idiot.
that just yeah, but just because you're an anarchist, you're the idiot that thinks trans people can have babies, dude. You're the idiot. You don't even understand
again,
There's
simple
very
science.
unique issues to cis women who also cis women who have a lot of children actually have unique health problems that trans women are not going to have to deal with, right? Cis women are again going to be just biologically a little bit weaker on average than the average
A
male.
lot.
And okay, a lot,
Built
a
different.
little, whatever you want to
If
say.
I were there, it
okay,
would've went a little bit differently.
Okay,
I could
all right.
fight you
Okay,
in
little
sleep
guy, calm
stardust.
down.
Yeah, well, you're a man.
Yeah, exactly. Look at my muscles.
I think we need to acknowledge at a certain point that just like we treat a different population within women, sorry, I've been saying it wrong, chat. Women, we treat like specific populations within the women category, like people of color or disabled women or all of that. We can do the same with cis women and trans women. Am I saying it right now? Are you guys happy?
Yeah.
I'm happy. It's weird. Okay, so throughout this whole thing, there's been this point that keeps coming back when people are like, men are stronger. And what's the problem here is I feel like strength, like physical strength, which is, tends to be more a masculine thing, is being confused with power. And that men are more powerful because we are stronger. This is not true. And in fact, a good example of this would be the PKK/YPG. The YPG was an all-female fighting force. They are still holding their territory after being betrayed by the U.S. government. They're the single best warriors, local warriors against
Wait,
ISIS.
the YPG are
So,
all
the idea
female
that women
fighters?
cannot
The Kurdish
exercise
people in
power, they
Syria?
won't
Is that
exercise power
true?
in the same way that a man would, but they will absolutely exercise power.
I don't think that's the issue, though.
Men are actually smarter.
I mean, it's the issue-
That's why I'm winning this debate.
Based
I'm massive
training
like-
in a
All
man
right.
hat.
I don't know if I buy that.
I'm going to
Well, here's the
disagree
thing.
with
Wait,
that.
I want to jump
but-
in here on the question of here's why that matters. It's because
There's a division.
if
There's a
we
large
were all
division
in
that's
a
all
room
female.
together,
Okay.
I think Alex is the biggest one here. It's like we could elect a leader amongst us or something, but if Alex is the biggest one in the room, and the leader, whoever said, well, hey, I think it should be this way. Alex could just like get a big rock and smash it over the other person's head. And that's a definition of power. And the thing is, most interactions in society it's not a warfare scenario where there's arms. Most domestic scenes and most workplace scenes and physical intimidation, it works with strength and size. And the other thing too is that men are smarter. So, and from that proceeds, by the way, from
You're
that
just flattering
proceeds the
yourself.
relative roles, not necessarily. From that proceeds the roles of men and women, but it also indicates something about men and women, which is that men and women are fundamentally different. And I think that maybe one of the big differences in our worldview is that I am not an individualist. I don't believe in this abstraction of the individual, which is sort of sexless, raceless, who should have rights and get to say what they want to do in society. Because it's
I'm
really not an
literally an
individual.
anarcho-communist. I am not an individualist.
Okay, well,
God.
Destiny is, and I think the trans person is individualist as well.
Based.
And this presupposes that there's not fundamental differences between men and women, and then as a consequence, they have to be treated differently. Everything about them is different. These are essential differences. And so to say that we're just going to say, oh, men and women are just going to have the same roles and men can become women and women can become men, it is a fundamental misunderstanding of the composition
So where are the
of
essential
society.
differences?
Well, I would just say I disagree. I think
real quick,
just because
Here, one
men.
sec. I'll give you a really quick and pithy one, Stardust, and then just in case anybody hasn't spoken for a while, Marie and April.
Okay.
Go ahead,
All
Stardust.
right. So just because men and a woman may have inherent differences in what they do and what they gravitate to doesn't mean that we don't create a society where anybody can choose to go outside of that role if they feel the need to, if they feel like their calling is outside of that role. And I also wanted to touch on one subject. Doobie brought it up very briefly, but the idea of passing I thought was really interesting because I feel that there are a lot of trans women who pass better than cis women, especially just with the way that norms are and the beauty standards that we have and stuff like that. And so I thought that was a very interesting point. I know a lot of cis women who feel that they don't pass as well as a lot of trans women. So.
Brendan, are you bisexual? Is that true that you're bisexual, Brendan?
Why does
I'm
that matter?
bisexual.
Why is it relevant?
So
to
which
the
sex do you like? Which sex would you rather have sex with?
Why is that relevant to the
confused.
conversation?
Who?
Alex,
it
Alex,
is.
when's
It's
the
a
last
good
time you
question.
jerked
It's a
off?
good question.
But who do you prefer to have sex with, men or women?
Alex, when you jerked
I
off last,
prefer to have
sex
sex with multiple people at once. So, yeah.
Ah, gross.
That's
So
gay.
much information.
Multiple
We didn't hear
dudes?
that.
Hold on, if we're getting
He
personal,
just said
Alex,
he
Are you
just
worried
said he
about
jerks off to the
monkeypox, Brendan?
WNBA.
Are you worried about
Alex,
monkeypox? At least
Alex,
it's
the last time
women.
you jerked
No.
off, like which page of the Bible were you looking at?
When I cranked it, I was watching the WNBA. I was watching the
looking at
Liberty.
AOC.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's actually the basic.
Yeah, I was
can't
looking at
follow.
AOC, my favorite big booty Latina.
All right,
God,
next
this is
topic.
terrible.
Before we go into the Q&A, I actually want to remind you, folks, our guests are linked in the description. We're going to go into the Q&A shortly, but I do want to remind you that includes if you're listening at the podcast, we put our guest links in there. So check them out if you want to hear more about their views. Any last closing thoughts? Any final thoughts before we go into the Q&A?
Yeah, I had one really quickly. And so people were talking about passing and trans women passing and them, being overly feminine when they do this. Can you think of a reason why trans women might want to pass beyond simply like pretending to be a woman or whatever, or reinforcing patriarchy? It's so they can get jobs. It's so they can get housing. It's so that they will not be harassed on the street by people like Nick. Like there is a practical reason why they would need to pass and why they would need to, and sometimes probably overdo it with some kind of hyper femininity.
If you want to be a woman, I don't understand that because if you want to be a trans woman, you're saying you want to be a woman, so wouldn't you therefore logically want to pass?
Yeah, typically
you would want to pass,
passing,
but there
it doesn't really make sense.
Typically, passing is like helps like gender dysphoria or whatever, right? So like when they're passing, they feel like they're passing, they don't have to feel as dysphoric, and this is helpful to them. Like,
and they also
think
are in a far less danger from the rest of society.
You're wrong. It's
But
purely
that-
autogynephilia. I don't know what you're talking
Oh
about.
god.
Well, I don't think anybody's denying that there are reasons for why people want to pass. It's just.
I think the best
Like
meme
it
is,
is
hey, listen,
But
when a
Brenton-
Pizza Hut closed down and they tried to put a Chinese restaurant in it, everybody
not
knows it's
that
still a
meme,
Pizza
please.
Hut. So, some things can only change so much. You're always going to know.
God.
And then when you show
are
up
we
and try
doing
to order a
closing
Pizza
statements?
Hut at the Wendy's, like you look like a fucking idiot, right? Like I
Okay,
it's not-
dude, but you're just annoyed. Are you trans or something? Why are you so mad
No,
about
I'm not-
this?
I'm not
Why are
mad.
you
I'm
constantly
sorry, I'm
attacking
not
people
mad.
personally?
I'm not. I'm just wondering why
I'm
you'd be
okay
so
with him
mad at
personally
me. I'm
attacking
talking about the
Alex is the
world.
most emotional person
love
on
and
this
respect
panel,
those.
okay?
I wear my
Turn
heart on my
into a goblin
sleeve.
during our
I wear my
last
heart on my
debate.
sleeve. I'm an
When I love
emotional
and
person.
respect
Don't ever
people,
tell me
I
that women
attack them
are more
personally, so
emotional than men, again, because Alex is here, okay?
That's true. I'm so emotional. Oh my God, the one women. I agree with you.
Any last thoughts? Anybody else?
Last thoughts.
Can Doobie talk?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Am I allowed to say this?
No, you're a woman. You're not allowed
I
to
give
say
you
shit.
permission.
Fuck
Well,
you.
okay,
I made a
So
mistake
there's been
coming
a
here,
meme
guys.
going
Yeah,
around
you're right.
I made a
on
mistake.
Twitter that everybody calls me white. So I just want to say I'm the new savior of the white race. So just want to let you guys know I have taken the crown. It's my thing now. So yeah.
You got it.
You're not white. You're brown.
No shit, Alex.
I am the new savior,
that was
okay?
Nick.
All
Nick
white
was
men
the
should
savior.
aspire to be like me, okay? I'm just letting you know I have taken it. Nick, you can try and challenge for it, but it's gone. It's not yours anymore. I have the
All right.
crown. I am the
But
savior.
We'll jump
All
over
right,
to
you
two.
trans,
Yeah.
Stardust?
Any last
Are
thoughts?
you a
Now, look in
biological
your
woman or
eye.
are you
I'll take it from
trans?
you.
All right.
I am a cis woman.
Oh, you
I know,
sure?
I get it. I look
Go
very
ahead, April.
masculine. You know,
could've
maybe
fooled
this
me.
is why this
All right, enough
topic,
about Stardust. April.
anyways.
Yes, middle guy. What's up?
Any last thoughts before we do go into Q&A?
Yeah, I mean, there's some really interesting studies on like the values of men and women. Fairman et al., Sue et al., Dykeman et al. And women are more likely to endorse communal, group-serving, people-oriented values. And I think that's why people like Nick are ultimately endorsing a feminine ideology, one that is not very individualistic or competitive or masculine, but one that just basically gives handouts to the people who are not succeeding.
What?
So
I'm not talking about
that's all.
handouts.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, and blames the failings of men on women. Yeah, women are succeeding, and I'm
I didn't
not.
blame it on women. I
And-
blamed it on
and
other
I'm not
people.
married.
And
I'm
then
not
I
married.
got
And I
yelled
don't have
at.
kids, and et cetera, et cetera. And it must be because women are pushing me down. The patriarchy has been dismantled. Now the matriarchy is forcing me into my room to yell at women all day on the internet. Like it seems. I don't know. It does seem pretty feminine.
Yeah, except
we're gonna
that's
go
not
by,
what's
like,
happening.
what,
Except that's not what's
traditional
happening.
Yeah,
I said who I
blaming it
thought was
on another
responsible,
minority
and then
is
everybody
also
yelled at me. and
Well,
said,
Nick, why are you?
can say that on Twitch. You can say that on YouTube. That's
Like Nick, traditionally, like someone like you would be married at like 18 years old. Like, well, why aren't
Yeah,
you
but
married?
I'm an asexual incel, so that's
okay.
where
Yeah,
you don't understand
okay.
my life.
I apologize. I didn't know you were sexual.
Sculptor, not the clay.
Any other-
That's what we like to say, like Schopenhauer said. I'm the sculptor.
Any other
But I don't
last
know. Maybe
words?
I'll Stardust as a new savior of the white race. I don't know.
Hey, you two make very
white.
pretty
Maybe
babies. Go
we
for
can
it.
repopulate the earth.
Look, I'm just saying that all white men aspire to be what I am. So that's
It's true. That's
generally what it is.
That
Yeah.
Paku look in your eyes. If more men had that, I think we'd have a different kind of movement. But my closing thoughts on this whole deal. I mean, look, it's just reality. We're talking about men and women. We all know what men and women are about. We all have moms. We all know women in a peer relationship, siblings, friends in school. We know men and we know women, and we know what they're like, and we know where they should be. And women belong as mothers in the home raising their babies. And if they want to take on some little tasks, they want to, help a man with a research paper or, their husband or something like that, or pick up the phones, I think that's fine. But we need to restore gender roles. We need to have gender segregation. We need to allow men and women to thrive in their separate domains. And we need to cease the elevation of women in these roles where they don't belong at the expense of men. It's killing society. And you could see that in this is just a contributing factor, but the decline in the fertility rate, as well as a number of problems between men and women, within men and women. And on some level, we all understand that feminism is the real enemy. Feminism sort of goes hand in hand with modernity, which is poison. So I would
Says
say
the
that
incel with no family, no wife, no kid.
Gotta move on.
That's right.
You have no room to
All
talk
right,
on
any
any of
last
these issues.
words? Anyone else?
Absolutely, I do. I'm a theorist.
Can I disagree?
I'm a social
I would like to
theorist and a
disagree with
genius.
his
Social
statement
theorist,
about feminism.
You're a fat bisexual with a Ukraine
I hate
pendant
to do
on,
it, Stardust.
and
but
you
just
look
gotta give
homeless.
one.
You don't have right to talk about
And-
anything.
Brenton, we've heard so much from you. All right, Steven, any last words?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
else?
Where are we? What was the topic of this again? Jesus Christ.
I
It's all
disagree
over.
with.
I'm good.
I disagree with his statement on feminism. You can look at how the ways in which feminism, there are obviously cringe people on Twitter, screaming about everything, but that, feminism has pushed for things for families historically. So feminism was very much like a family-oriented movement in a lot of ways. So.
Anybody else? Last word?
None of us would be here without our mothers, so we need to lift up moms.
Gotcha. And want to say, folks, our guests are linked in the description. I'm going to jump into the Q&A. If you happen to have a question, you can submit it by adding me, namely at Modern Day Debate, the YouTube channel. We're live right now. If you have a question, come on over. Freaking John says, Doobie needs to speak up. Let's see. And I don't like looking at Brenton. All right. So, folks, I want to remind you, we don't want insults, not even of Brenton. This one coming in from Andrew. Come on, I'm kidding. Andrew Farrell says, for Taft, the economy has changed, yes, but the production of GDP should not come at the expense of the family. Any thoughts, April?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that you have to strike a balance here. And that balance means making sure they're not depriving women of family and of infant rearing, which I think is important on a civilizational level. And maybe Destiny doesn't care about this, but I think it's really important to look way into the future. If it means thousands of years into the future, then thousands of years into the future. And so I think that having children is important. And you ought to preserve that, and you ought to allow women to contribute to the economy where they're able.
This one from Dave Gar says, could you please use more inclusive terms such as soy person or soy human or soy entity in your polls? Yeah. Thank you very much for your question. This one coming in. Bub Savvy says, let's all agree there is a war on humanity. Liberty is mocked on both sides. My liberty, not yours. Where is the state when you need them? All we can hope for is political wins to dominate our political enemies. Simple as that. Thoughts?
I mean, I agree with him in that, the state is involved essentially in a Cold War against everyone on behalf of the elite. Yeah, I mean, he's right. I just think he's getting a little dramatic about it.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I agree. The pretense is gone. Now it's a race to the top, race to use the state to crush our enemies. I think it's totally true. And the right needs to drop this liberty business and talk about interest-based politics and power. Yeah, totally agree.
Gotcha. And thanks very much for your question. This one coming in from Bifurcation Station says, let Jesse on. Jesse, like Jesse Lee Peterson? I don't know. Amazing. Next one, Freaking John says, Doobie needs to... Liz, you got that one. Mr. Meme says, hey, Nick Fuentes, explain the transgender is it PM or PRN?
Yeah.
Never mind that. Alan Cummins, great. Says Alan says, great debate, guys. Nick, what are your thoughts on Lauren and how she lives? Let's see. I don't want to do anything when Lauren's not here to defend herself. Mr. Monster says, do you think women should be told what to do by men, or are they more powerful, independent of men?
I think that one of the things that I don't think we got into enough is the fact that people are kind of socially conditioned by their society, right? And we talked a lot about, women are inherently this way and men are inherently that way. But there are plenty of examples throughout history in our civilization, in other civilizations, where it is just not the case that people are a certain way, right? Or inherently. I think you can look at humans all over the planet and find that they do things far differently than we do, and the reason they do that is because they're socially conditioned from birth to behave in a certain way by the culture, right? So just I feel like we need to talk about that a little more, because Nick, it sounded like you said that either is just an expression of our understanding of natural tendencies among men and women, or it is just it's just not true that they're socially conditioned. Right, that they're just the way that they are because that's how they are, right? And I think that's clearly not the case.
Yeah, I agree that society exerts influence on people. Of course.
Yeah. So when you were saying that women are inherently this way, or men and women are behave this way and that way, how much of that do you think is socially conditioned?
I think that the social conditioning derives from their biology.
So you think it's just like an expression
it's derived from fact, and I think that the other social conditioning is derived from ideology. It's derived from ideas and visions. So the question is, what kind of social conditioning do we want? And is the social conditioning working against reality, or is it working alongside reality? And clearly you can see that in a lot of different projects by mankind and a lot of different ambitious political parties and things like that. Some things work with our nature and some things work against our nature. So, but yeah, I don't think that's in dispute. It's just saying things that are obvious.
I think that is in dispute.
What?
I think there are plenty of examples where men and women in other civilizations act in ways that are far, far, far outside of the norm of like Western culture, right, or our culture.
No, hard to hear you, Doobie.
Oh, I apologize. I think we can, again, you were talking about history, and we can even look to like recent history, right? And this is something I like bringing up a lot because it's really funny. But we could look to like even like Papua New Guinea, like 6 years ago, right, where people were socially conditioned to believe that it was masculine for young boys to give the adults in the tribe blowjobs every day because they thought the only way for them to become real men was to ingest semen daily. Right, so from the age of like 7 to like 16 or something, they're giving blowjobs to the men in the tribe every day, and this was a masculine thing to do. And if they didn't do it, they wouldn't be real men. They would be feminine because they needed to suck the dick to get the feminine influence of their mothers out of them. Right, so I think, and that was a totally like a rational, reasonable way for them to behave to them, right? So given that you have like extremes like that out there, or you have cannibalism on the other side, right? I don't think it makes sense to say that, hey, women or men or anybody behaves in a way like inherently or naturally. I think it's absolutely
that's just a false syllogism to say
primarily
some
like
things are subjective, that everything is subjective. That's just wrong.
I didn't say everything.
That is
it's primarily
what you're saying. There are things that are objective and there are things that are subjective, and so
but I think you need to demonstrate that something is objective if you're making that claim.
Okay, it's rooted in biology. Men are stronger than women. Women have to bear children. Women are more relational because of that. They think of people and faces and names and are cooperative because they have a biological function to produce offspring. And so that we don't need to get into the science. We're in the Q&A session,
okay,
but
this is
you're saying that they have this subjective tradition, so I guess any behavior.
But what you just pointed to
valid.
is a subjective tradition that's relative to the time and place in which these things were useful, right? I asked you earlier, like, hey, tell me why we should be appealing to like cavemen social roles in the modern day when we're speaking to each other from across the planet on the internet. Like, why is it useful to say, hey, men are stronger, men are physically stronger, so therefore, they're dominant in our society, or they're dominant this way or that way, and not to say that, hey, yeah, women can also interact with our society in plenty of ways that don't involve their physical strength, don't involve any of those biological limitations, as you call them, and take on dominant roles or leadership roles in our society. Like, why should we be using yesterday's like social roles when they just don't seem to apply?
The biology hasn't changed. The biology hasn't changed, and I'm not arguing that men should still be hunting mammoths and women should still be, knitting things out of leaves or whatever.
The fact that you're arguing should means it's
you're
not
interrupting
objective.
me.
Yeah, because you're saying stupid shit.
Yeah, well, that's not how this works. You want to go live in Papua New Guinea where they're eating people and drinking cum? You probably would like that. You freak. You probably would. You look like you'd like that.
Let's jump into the next. I hate to do this. We have so many questions. Well, Legend Riv says the U.S. is a service sector economy, and most of this sector's industry is women run. BLS Gov admits this, I think Bureau of Labor Statistics. There is no war on women. There is an argument that the deficits created here is damaging the economy. Thoughts, please? Any of you?
What is the sector in question that they mentioned?
The service sector, the largest part of our economy, I think.
The U.S. is a service sector economy, and most of these sectors' industry is run by women. And there is no war on women. There is an argument that the deficits created here is damaging the economy. Thoughts?
There is no argument. Anybody that some people think that like a service economy isn't real, and if you're not like manufacturing like fucking bricks or cinder blocks, you're not actually doing real work. It's it's one of those like
no, Destiny, come on.
It's like that fucking stupid meme where it's like fake jobs and it's like computer programmer, nuclear engineer, astronaut, and then it's like real jobs and it's like carpenter, electrician, guy that fucking shoves his dick into trees.
Carpentry
Like that's like
a service. Isn't carpentry a service job
A
though?
service is
Well,
a job.
yeah. Well, no. I guess.
Yeah, but you're like producing.
Means like
a thing.
production.
You're doing
Like, when you-
but
when-
that
I'm-
is a service.
I'm talking about like where you're like, I guess electrician and carpenters
Like a
might actually be
physical
considered.
product.
Yeah, but like when you're anything
is a
related to like
service job.
manufacturing, sure. Anything related to like manufacturing, whatever. People think that's like if you're not like making stuff, like working on stuff, it's not like a real job or whatever.
I agree with that. I think that this whole Russia debacle is proving that, because then we're like, we're going to cut you off from international trade. And it's like, okay, well, we have all the oil and gas and food and you don't. That's why the British are paying 5,000% premium on gas from Belgium. And I know that was
I mean, if you say so, it looked to me like Putin just fell on his face. Like he was supposed to take that country in like a day.
I don't think anybody believed that. He destroyed the Ukrainian army. It's going and
if he had destroyed the Ukrainian army, he would have won. At the moment,
ironic that you're an anarchist and you're shilling for like NATO. I find
Just to be clear, hold on. I'll show for Ukraine. Okay, the Russian economy is currently fucked.
Yeah,
number one,
the Russians are
and
doing
number two,
awfully.
Russia massively fucked up the Ukrainian invasion. It is nothing but weapons grade copium. If you think rolling around tanks on the street with no support and not taking Kyiv in literally 3 days is anything but an abject failure of what people thought the Russian military could do, including Russia itself. So of course that was a massive fuck up.
What, you want to make a bet, Destiny, on who's going to win this war?
Putin's already lost the war. Like maybe
In
they
what
can
way?
stop in the way that his goal was like in 3 days. He wanted the city of Kyiv. He wanted a new administration. He wanted Donetsk and Luhansk as breakaway states, and he wanted Crimea to stay his, and he wanted to be over in like 2 weeks tops. That's what he wanted.
I don't think he ever articulated
This of
course.
Last,
What-
like decades.
what
This is
other-
going to be a decades-long war, so
And
No, it's
they've like
not.
massive,
Keep getting
they've
bled.
humiliated
yeah.
Russia.
And
on the
I mean,
world
it's already
stage,
taking a
right?
really
Like,
long time.
Let's take a
it's
bet then. We could all, in Destiny, in our debate, you were talking about Russia hitting nuclear power plants. That was a fake NATO story. Just
First
like
of all-
Russia using chemical weapons, just like all the other stuff. So, I mean, we could
Well,
talk
hold on,
about the current propaganda, but let's just make a bet about
Sure, what do you wanna bet on? What do you wanna bet on?
Will be. Let's say that by the end of the year, Luhansk and Donetsk totally liberated and independent states are annexed to Russia.
liberated.
Wait. Do they count as liberated right now?
Well, I think one of them is Luhansk, I think one of them is completely under Russian control. Yeah, and they're
Well, because this is I need to read a little, but I would almost make this bet with you right now. Maybe I would. Okay, if you're telling me that that Ukraine will recognize them as independent states, like that they'll be like, okay, we've lost that. Is that like a bet you want to make, or you just want to go by like?
I don't think Kiev will. I mean, they may capitulate later on, but they will effectively be under Russian control, and that's what matters. I mean, the United States.
When you say okay, but I'm trying to push you because I don't want you to be like, oh, well. Are you talking like they've brokered a peace
Hey,
deal?
that's not how I sound.
They've brokered a peace deal. There's a ceasefire, and Ukraine is content to say, okay, Luhansk and Donetsk, we're gonna leave this alone for a little bit.
No, I think the war will probably be ongoing.
Okay, then you're not even making a real bet. Okay, just let the record show that you totally walked back from your shit. That's fine.
No, I
Okay.
did not. I said that Luhansk and Donetsk would be liberated by the end of the year.
What is liberate? People would have said that they were liberated a year ago. Like, what do you mean by liberated? Like, if Ukraine, if they're still fighting along the borders, if they're all fighting in the Donbass and Russia's still pouring in military support, everything, how is that liberated?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they won't be fighting in the Donbass. I'm saying that Russia will have fully secured Luhansk and Donetsk from the control of Kiev. They'll have military control of those places. A referendum will be held. They'll either be annexed or they'll have independence. And
Okay, so hold on.
Be ongoing in Odessa
the United
or
States have
Kherson,
military control of Iraq?
What?
Did the United States have military control of Iraq?
Not complete military control, but we're talking about a region versus a state.
Wait, hold on. Wait. The United
Iraq
States
was a
did. Hold on. The
disaster.
United States literally installed a new government in Iraq. I would say that counts as like complete military control. We disabled
and they installed the new government in Afghanistan, and they never controlled the entirety of the country.
That's the point. That's what's going to happen.
Hold on. I don't think Afghanistan.
Russia's going to take all of Ukraine. I don't think that was ever the objective.
It was definitely the objective.
No, it was not. He articulated on February 24th that he wanted to demilitarize Ukraine, liberate Luhansk and Donetsk, and secure Crimea. And I think that's
Vladimir
exactly what
Putin, regular man who tells the truth all the time. He also said he wasn't going to attack.
I don't think he said that. I don't think he said that at all.
Yes, he did.
He
said it was just.
We're totally off topic. We've got to jump to the next one. Olivia says, James, how can you say you're a fair moderator when you told Brenton to shut up and have never once told Alex Stein to shut up in a debate? Well, to be fair, Alex wasn't.
He has told me to shut up. Yeah, but you've told me to shut up.
That's right.
I don't feel like you told me to shut up, though. I will agree. I think you've been a little loose with Alex.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I'm a pimp on a blimp, Brenton, and you're a bisexual freak.
All right,
so
let's
that's
go to
why.
the next one. Mr. Memes coming with a question for Nick. Says, Nick, Let's see. Okay, that's another personal attack. Rumbly Depew says, thanks for bringing these brilliant minds together. Brenton is right. There is a war on women. He proved it when he claimed Breonna Taylor was shot while sleeping in her bed.
Okay. So on the issue of Breonna Taylor being shot while sleeping in her bed, what happened there was, one, I jumped into that debate on like zero notice. You actually, and I didn't get the chance to do the research that I normally do. But on the other point of it is that the actual statement, Breonna Taylor was shot in her bed, caught on for two reasons. One, because it echoed the death of Fred Hampton, and two, because even though it was an incorrect statement, it more accurately described the injustice of what happened to her during that raid. So, yeah, she wasn't literally shot in her bed, but she still got the cops busting in her door.
It was spiritually true.
That's really stupid. I'm sorry.
I don't know about spiritually true.
That's,
but the fact
that's
is,
so fucking
if you're
dumb.
trying
I'm
to,
sorry, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel that way, but the fact is that if you're trying to get something into a single soundbite, you need to craft it in such a way that the actual idea is communicated.
You need to lie to people, make them feel like the cops are hunting them down in their homes and shooting them while they're asleep.
I mean, the cops were doing that, but okay.
No, they did not. That's not what happened.
The cops have been doing that across the country. I mean, freaking Freddie Gray.
Where do cops just murder people while they're asleep?
While they're asleep? That's literally how they killed Fred Hampton.
That was your claim. Your claim was that across the country, cops are busting into people's homes, going to the bedrooms and shooting them while they're
No, that was not my claim.
What's your claim?
My
James,
claim
I just want
is
you to
that the
know-
police were completely out of line in what they did, and it was incredibly tragic within Breonna Taylor's situation, as well as hundreds of others.
What was out of line from the police's side, other than the dude that was shooting through the window like a crazy person?
I mean, the rest of the
fact
police
that it was a no-knock
returned
raid. Fire after her boyfriend shot at the police officer.
Yeah, of course he shot at the police officers.
Okay, I understand the argument about
officers.
self-defense. I understand, right?
Yeah,
that's
We must
fine.
go on. I hate to do this, but we have so many questions. Legend Rivs says, let women practice their Second Amendment rights if there is a war on them. This gets rid of sexual harassment, fear, and toughens up women. Hashtag Uwagawuga. Ooga wooga.
True.
Next one, Light of the Twin Lamps. This question for Nick. If you support USA becoming a Catholic theocracy, shouldn't you support illegal immigration from Catholic Latin America, who are more likely to support your views than secular USA?
No, because then it won't be America. If we have to fundamentally transform the identity of America, on an ethnic basis, on a genetic and heritage basis, cultural basis, then that's not a Catholic America. I mean, and also, these Latin Americans are not. They're not the kind of Catholics that people say they are. I mean, they vote for abortion, they vote for gay marriage and all that. So. It's not like they're voting for the Guadalupe Empire or whatever. So, no, I think that's a lot of like soft conservative Catholics believe in that nonsense. It's like a different version of natural conservative from Paul Ryan, but it's like a Catholic bent. So, no, I don't think that makes any sense.
That's up. You got to thank you very much. This one coming in from Minecraft Player says, how can there be a war against women if women aren't real? I don't think I've seen one ever. Must be Photoshop. Also, shout out to Sonic Inflation. Okay, gosh. For the first part, disregarding the song. Any thoughts on the first one? This one coming in.
I didn't even understand that.
The Legend Ribs strikes
Just
again.
Google Sonic Inflation. You'll get it.
Does the U.S. is officially in a recession?
Is it like Rule 34 or something?
This one coming in. They say the U.S. is officially in a recession with a 2-quarter negative GDP print. Also, savings rates at 5%. Last time that happened was the 2008 recession. Male jobs like production aren't around. Help us out, women. Any thoughts?
Don't Google Sonic Inflation.
That's true.
I don't think we are technically in a recession because I think the government decides when to announce it, and they've chosen a different path.
Well, I think recessions are like very economically technical definitions, and numbers are always revised like up and down depending on like some people would say it's 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. But like
there is no like universally
accepted what is the definition. Yeah, so like it's hard because like there's disproportionate wage growth right now.
In my economic textbooks, we had definitions of recessions for different countries. So there are definitions. It's actually the 2 quarters of negative.
No, because that's used
negative GDP growth. But that's in an economic textbook.
No,
like it just is there.
I guarantee you.
And
I also went to
business
school for
cycle.
This. Like,
it's the business cycle. But it's the business cycle.
April,
as well.
what's up?
Yeah. No, I mean, like, the fact is, a recession is just like a decrease in economic growth, right? Like, fundamentally, that's what it is. And like, where you draw the line as far as saying like this is enough decrease to be like getting a special title is like
but in a business cycle, it is 2 quarters.
There's a traditional way of defining it, yes, and that is with the 2 quarters. So when I say like there's no official thing, like I'm kind of making fun of the fact that we've decided not to use the traditional definition for this current shrinking of the economy.
Yeah, in 2020, when there were 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth under Trump, everybody said, okay, we're officially in a recession. And, and that was true. But now that it happened, they said, oh, well, in the first quarter, that was because of an increased trade deficit. So it technically doesn't count.
Because I think
it counts.
Because trying to figure out if we're in a recession, it really doesn't matter what you call it. The important thing is what is the policy action that we need to take in response to that. And if we act right now like the economy is in the shitter and everything is fucked, there might be certain forms of like stimulus that we might be expecting from the Federal Reserve. Or there might be certain forms of stimulus that we might expect from the federal government. Or there might be other types of actions that we take in order to alleviate the economic problems. But the problem is that whether or not we're having a severe economic problem is really hard to identify. The closure of small businesses is not happening at recession levels. Wages are growing among poor workers at like historic levels. Unemployment is unbelievably fucking low. It's hard to say inflation is growing for sure, but the idea that we're just in a huge shitter economy where there's like a huge recession is fuck. That's not true. That's not the lived experience right now of most Americans.
Wait, what are you talking about? That is so wrong. All of the polls are showing that people are in really bad economic situations. You have 500,000 subscribers. You have said that you make X amount of money on YouTube. So like, it's not maybe your lived experience, but for people who are dealing with this and having their mortgage rates go up, yes, it is very much their lived experience, and all the polls
lived
and surveys do back this up.
Polls will ask you if you think
this bet is backed up by surveys.
Polls,
it just is.
Polls. I don't care what an average person surveys for if they think they're doing good or bad. That's not relevant to literally anything. Okay, you can poll an American on whether on if they like the ACA versus Obamacare, and you might get a 50-point difference in the poll. That's not how we're looking at like the economic well-being of people.
Yeah, but
right. So when you say things like
it looks at how did you feel last year compared to now when the
I don't care how you feel because how you feel literally might just be because the president is different.
But it's also your mortgage payments will tell you
your mortgage payments shouldn't.
How much money you have.
Your mortgage.
They will change.
Why?
Most people, a lot of people are on variable rates.
Not
every mortgage is a fixed rate.
Okay.
If mortgages are going up.
I didn't finish my original point. Hold on. You can't. Yeah. First of all, you should be on a fixed rate mortgage. If you're doing adjustable rate mortgages, that's on you. That's your own shit to figure out. You're a dumb fuck. You deserve to lose your house.
It's been good. It's been a good idea for the last 10 years to be on a variable rate mortgage.
It's called a gamble. Okay. If you want to gamble on a $200,000 plus loan at a variable rate, if rates go up, you deserve to lose your house. Fuck you. You're gambling on the market 100%. So that's number one. That's number one. Lose your house and deal with it.
We're still at all-time lows for interest rates, so I don't think people are going to lose their houses because a 5% is still, in comparison to 20 years ago, extremely good.
5%,
it's still extremely low rate.
Okay.
5% mortgage rates are very low.
Holy shit. Hold on. Wait, it's just like so much dog shit information. If your rate was 3%.
How is that dog shit?
If your rate
How is that dog shit? It is a better rate than it was like 10, 15, 20 years ago.
The rate's not a comparison to what it was 10 or 15 years ago. The rate is going to be compared to what you actually opened your fucking mortgage at. If you open your mortgage at a 2 or 3% rate and your rate bumps 2 points, your payment is going to go massively increasing. It doesn't matter if it was higher 10 or 15 years ago, but if you had a mortgage. She's saying so much dumb shit. No, hold on. No, wait, stop. Stop.
You know we've printed more money in the past year than we have in years past, so you know that we have more money out there.
That has nothing to do with anything. That has nothing to do with anything. Okay?
You don't think that lowers the value of money, the fact that there's more out there?
The USD is literally outperforming like every fucking currency in the world right now. What the fuck are you talking about?
There's more of it, so that's why we're having inflation.
No,
all right,
stop.
we have to go to the next one.
Inflation is good if you owe a bunch of money.
Yeah, which you
Thank
probably
you.
do.
This one coming in from Rumpley Depew says, can you ask Nick if he has hated my people ever since the time I filled an empty Fritos bag with salted mohel scraps and he ate them all? What does that mean, Nick?
I don't know what that means. Whose people is that?
This one coming in from Sausage Lore says, Nick and Destiny, the Hispanic tag team duo. Let's go. Wow, that's pretty neat. This one coming in from Mike. Huh?
I said, yeah, we're BFFs. It's pretty cool.
This one from Minecraft Player says, shout out to women. And
wait, who's this black guy?
Huh?
What?
Who's this black guy that just jumped on? Oh, wait, Doobie, you're black?
Sorry, I didn't realize that the thing had gone off.
Yeah, I didn't know you were black. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I love blacks, but
learn something new every day. D, thanks very much for your super sticker. I didn't see your question.
How do you talk? You talk like an old man, Nick. What is going? It's like somebody took you. It's like you came out of like a time portal from like 30 years ago.
What? He's black.
Black.
It's literally like somebody took like an old guy who was like living 30 years ago and like put him in a time machine and like and brought him here and put him in a suit, and that's literally Nick Fuentes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Projected him into a 14-year-old.
What did I miss?
This one going in from GJM.
30 years ago was only 1990 though, so.
Pete, is that true? Oh my
No shot. That
He's
can't
an
be
old
real.
man in 1990. It's even further back.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I was born in the 19th century. Yeah.
GJM says, for Brenton, what is the word woman referencing in this context specifically? How do you define a woman?
Yeah, so I've said this 3 times now. My definition of a woman is for someone to do 2 things. 1, identify as a woman, and 2, be accepted by their community as a woman. Woman is a social role.
This one coming in from Light of the Twin Lamp says, we'll talk about that later. The Legend Riv says, if you want info on women in ESG funding, namely environmental safety and governance, visit Ryan Dawson's Substack. What is everybody's thoughts on Ryan Dawson?
I think I've always said this. I think he's cringe. I mean, we agree on like 9/11 and all that, but he's like a bleeding heart liberal. He's like, oh, like I don't like Israel because they're mean to Palestinians, and I'm like, I don't like Israel because, well.
All right, let's move into the next one.
Okay.
Any other fans of Ryan Dawson? Okay, this one coming in from Vasily says, Destiny says democracy gives everyone a free choice to choose, but would he accept the argument that most Western countries put pressure on women to work, so it can't be called free choice?
I mean, in that case, if you want to go fully deterministic, there's no free choice for anything. There's always pressures to do everything. There's going to be pressures from your church. There's going to be pressure from your community, from your school. Like everybody's pressured to some extent. We just kind of have to choose like how to balance those pressures out in society. And some of them might be obviously too far, but others can be like a little bit more hidden, right? Like boys are pressured to play video games in a way more than women are, et cetera, et center.
Yeah, I think you may be edging just slightly on a Nirvana fallacy there, Destiny. Yeah, obviously certain things are going to have more pressure than other things. Nothing's perfect, but I think like there's specific things that we see happening economically that push people in a particular direction. I mean, like a good example was me and my wife right now we are weighing whether to have another kid, and the pressures that are on that is not just do we want another kid, it's what's the political situation like, how dangerous is it for this to happen, do we have the money, do we have the stability. So like the larger society puts a huge amount of pressure on people within it and incentivizes certain behaviors and disincentivizes others.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think I said that. But I'm just saying that there's always pressures. There's no such thing. Anytime you live in any sort of society, there's necessarily pressure. Like pressure might actually even be like an intrinsic property of just being a human. You've got biological pressures. You've got pressures in your family. Like there's always going to be pressures to do everything.
I would argue actually that it's an inherent part of being alive. You don't know who you are until you meet like some sort of thing that's not you.
Like the end of Evangelion. You ever see that show? It's like it's like that.
That's like the one anime I haven't gotten into. I'll check it out though.
I think the distinction here that you can legitimately make is that when the government engages in pressure, when the government puts its thumb on the scale, that has a much bigger impact than other things. Not than anything, but it has a big impact because the government ultimately has, monopoly on violence. So the ability of the government to influence things through, for example, affirmative action is just really powerful. And that's why you got to be really careful with any sort of legislation, it's because when the government pressures things change.
I super disagree. I think that there are some things that the government can influence, like the types of investments we make or the ways we pay employees, but there are other things that are really, really hard for the government to influence. So for instance, earlier we were talking about birth rates. This is something that a lot of governments around the world have been trying to incentivize. Like, how do we get people to have more kids? That's a really hard thing to do from a point of government policy. There's like there's a confluence of like family matters, like economic opportunity, like housing markets. There's a lot of things that have to come together for people to make those decisions. It's not usually a simple button that you can push on the government to like produce more kids, except maybe in the case of like China, where you have like literally restrictive child policies or something.
I agree, but we have to ask the question, in comparison to what, right?
In comparison to like
has more ability than I think like most institutions in society to influence these things. So that's my point, is the government has like relatively a lot more power in most things.
True.
Yeah, potentially, but I think that there are other institutions that are really, really important that could play like huge factors as well. But I mean, like the government is a big one.
I agree, though. Like educational institutions also have like huge influence, and like media institutions. Like there's so many institutions that have massive influence. So I don't want to say that like the government is the end all be all, but just that it has a special power in its ability to like enforce laws.
I will actually kind of agree with that a little bit in that, and I wanted to bring this up earlier because I know Nick is a big fan of Russia. The Russians give, I think, 2 years maternity leave, and the United States gives no maternity leave. Employers can use it if they want to. I remember just when I was moving from one job to another, a person to sell the health insurance for that job, and this was pretty good health insurance. She was like, "Oh yeah, we had my baby last year. It only cost $6,000." And you talk about declining birth rates. That's what it is. It's this huge environmental and economic pressure on families within first world nations because, in my opinion, we are being bled by the elites for as much labor for as little return on that labor.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think we should have permanent maternity leave. It's called "You're a Mom, leave, you're fired."
That's not going to actually get what you want, though. You won't have, if you just kick people out of work without giving them a way to live, you're not going to get the birth rate. You're not going to get those white babies that you really, really want. Because again, people are going to have children when they are within a situation where they feel that they can have children.
Yeah, I agree. I think the state should incentivize it in other ways. I think they should pay, like in Hungary, for example, they say you don't have to pay taxes after you have so many kids. And I like what Andrew Yang had to say, frankly, about, reconsidering raising kids as work and finding a way to reward that and restructure society to reward that. I agree with you, honestly, about the elites. Maybe we just misunderstand exactly the structure of the elite and what is
you think it's a specific minority. I think it's rich people.
The difference is that Breton thinks the elite are working 24/7, but Nick thinks they take off like Saturday evenings, basically.
That's funny.
That's good, Destiny.
That's coming in from Bulletproof Tony says PS is greater than IL. This one from Zayton says, I agree with Destiny. This one from Silent Zero says, Destiny, I did it and would not do it again. There is no amount of money or job title that can compare to the value of my kids.
That's cool. That's good. If you make that decision, you should have a right to. That's awesome. That's fine. I hope it's cool.
This one from Zayton again says, Destiny is the chosen one. He will save America. This one from Bullet Tooth Tony says, y'all see that Ryan Dawson versus Fuentes debate? Did you guys debate, Nick?
Uh-oh.
We did, yeah. We debated, I think, twice. Or maybe just once. I'm not sure.
Ooh, juicy. And 3000 Mover says, thank you, Destiny, for being the voice of reason. You got a lot of fans out there, Destiny. Jake Lesba says, let the right-wingers speak. It's a 2 versus 6, James. Was it really a 2 versus 6? I thought it was relatively... But JJ Cello...
I had trouble tracking who was on what side.
You know who got hammered on? A lot of you, Brendan, you got some pushback from your own team. But you know what? JJ Cello says, Marie, to prove Destiny's point, your mom traveled with 2 kids and a dog. What did she sacrifice to do that? Her retirement? Your college savings? If nothing, then who paid for that travel? The man?
Who's the cat?
So was that a cat?
Oh, Alex.
There's my cat.
Nope, she made a good investment before she had kids and it paid off.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So workers paid for it.
No. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
no, literally,
workers?
she made an investment in a company that extracts surplus value.
Did I say that?
That's the only way you can make money off of an investment. That's how the stock market works.
Maybe she bought a
Is
lottery
the only way
ticket.
to
Done by
invest
someone
money
else.
is a stock market?
She could have bought a
If
lottery
you
ticket.
invest money in a stock
Is that
market,
the only investment? I never said stock
what did she
market.
Well, what?
Why
Did
do
she
I have
invest
to?
in
Why do I have
bonds?
to say? Well, no. Why do I have
Because
to?
there's no
tell
other
you?
thing you can invest in.
What?
There's
Maybe
a
what
lot
you
of other
think.
things you can invest in.
Economic
Invest
literacy.
in
level
house.
1,000.
Frustrating Stardust. This one coming in. Jamie Russell says Trump Langle 2024. Are you a Trump fan, Brenton?
No, I
The
hate
biggest.
man.
No, false.
Yeah.
Oh,
From
that's
hell's
right.
heart, I stab at
Did
thee.
somebody
For
say my
hatred's
name?
Sake, I
Yeah, that was me. I said,
spew
I said
my
they were
last breath at
frustrating you.
thee.
Out of quick curiosity, who do you guys think is going to be in the 2024 presidential election? Trump and Biden? Do you still think it's going to be Trump and Biden, Stephen?
I do, yeah.
Lord, I hope not.
Michelle Obama.
Yeah, it seems like it's gonna.
So
be
somebody, I do
Just
think
give
it's
me
going to be
Pete
Trump.
Buttigieg.
or Trump and Kamala, but more
So I
likely
do
Trump,
think
but-
it's going to be Trump and Biden, but I also somebody brought up that Pence might run, and it looks like with more and more time that actually seems like a really good observation. I think that is actually that Pence is going to run at least in the primary. I don't know if he'll win against Trump, but yeah, I
Didn't
think
have a
he's gonna-
chance. That'd be a waste of time.
This one from
yeah.
GBO Farms. Israel has a high GDP and a positive birth rate.
Yeah, and that is one anomaly. But listen, it just goes to show, we're trying to understand modernity. I mean, that's really the argument here. And modernity is bound up with Westernism, Westernization, liberalism, technological progress, free markets, and free trade. And sometimes it's difficult to parse what is causing what exactly. But I mean, that's a good example of a country with a strong faith, a strong national identity, a high birth rate, even though they've got, to some extent, Westernization, as well as markets, as well as trade, as well as technological advancement. So, when you find those, those examples that buck the trend, it kind of shows what's really causing what. And there's a few examples like that. So.
You got it. This one from Silent Zero says, Destiny, check the mouse population study. Do you know what they're talking about?
Nope.
This one from Wesley Tart says, hello, really enjoy the channel. Question, is there anything Primetime Alex 99 Stein disagrees with Kent Hovind about? And do they want to debate? I doubt it. This
No,
one from
I want to debate Ken Hovind. I want to debate him.
I think you'd agree on everything. Wesley.
No, not everything.
Wesley Tart says, hope springs eternal. James, thanks for that. And Javid Benscombe says, Nick, you believe the earth is flat?
No, I believe it's round. I know that's cringe, but
Sunflower
I'm a
says,
round earther.
what does the F stand for in TERF, Brenton?
It stands for feminist, but in my opinion, by throwing trans women under the bus, they are fundamentally undermining the claims to feminism, and you can see it in the fact that they are frequently making common cause with people on the far right. Specifically, like Sargon of Akkad was made when he was taking the TERF position in our debate. So, yeah, I mean, the F does stand for feminist, but I don't think they should be considered feminist. Maybe people will disagree with me, but that's my opinion.
Isn't that kind of like...
If I could say, I feel like you wouldn't disagree that I'm a feminist, Brenton, but I think Alex was making, in some senses, a valid point with some of this stuff, and I think it's too easily written off as somebody being a TERF when we're just trying to describe different populations within the category of women, right? So.
Well, and
Even-
TERF
even
stands
if they
for
are
trans
TERF,
exclusionary radical feminist.
even if
So
they
I
are
think
TERF,
that
I think
is
it's still, you still need to deal with the arguments that are being put forward.
Yeah,
You can't
they're
say, "You're
real
TERF,
questions.
Therefore, I don't need to talk to you. It's like, that's kind of fine.
This
Yeah.
one from Father Reynolds says, God, man, children, women, critters. What does that mean? Mr. Crab says, is it okay to have white babies? Is it okay to be white?
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's totally okay to be white.
This one,
It's
Kyle,
okay to be right, but that's a
years.
white supremacist
Fred.
slogan. They're trying to slip it in.
Well, I am
under
the savior of the
shit,
white
I
race.
had no
So you
idea
might-
that was a...
Yeah.
this one
So what-
from Kyle James. Nick, do you really want to want any person to procreate? As far as I can tell, there is only one man on this panel. Let's see. They asked who you want to procreate with.
Me?
Justin KG says, why are liberals so focused on the minority if the majority suffers?
Because the majority has more power. I mean, I'm not a liberal. I'm an anarchist. But yeah, obviously you protect the minority because the minority has less power and therefore can be hurt and abused in a much larger way than a majority which has the ability to protect itself with sheer numbers.
This one from Cullivar. Question for Destiny. This can't be true, Destiny. Why is Star Wars The Last Jedi his favorite movie like he told Mahler? You really said that? And why is Rose his favorite Star Wars character? A team reigns supreme.
I mean, it's the best of the Star Wars. What am I supposed to say?
This one from Autism Forbes says, can you ask Jesse from Pod Awful to sing Aerials by System of a Down? Thanks. Sure. Nikki says, James your beard, thank you for your kind words. Sasha Lord says, Doobie, why do trans imitate Instagram models?
I think there is some truth to the idea that trans people do tend to play into patriarchal stereotypes about women.
Why did Doobie get asked this question?
Yeah, well, I think it's because I was like defending it, I guess. But yeah, I think there is some truth to that. Right? Just like with drag queens, I think there is some truth to them being like basically female blackface.
Yeah. To be fair, also tough. I did not clock you. So until you said something, I was 100% thought you were cis.
You lying bitch.
Why would you ever say something like this?
I clocked it with the voice.
Why would you ever say that? Oh God, why?
All, but generally that trans people, let's say a person who's transing from male to female, this is the word escapes me.
Morbing, that's what we call it in the community now, is morbing from male to female.
Morbing.
So go ahead, yeah.
Is that, thank you, Stephen. Is it true that these people, it's like these people, sorry. What I'm trying to say is it true that like, you know, like where it's like a sleek and fit woman and then, you know, like the bazongas, like, you know, like huge, like, is that true? Is that what you mean by archetype, Doobie?
Are you confusing trans people with
I was
drag queens?
No, I think he's asking like, why do trans women try to go for a certain like female archetype, try to look a certain way? I think I have somewhat controversial opinions on this, but I think that like, if you are someone who's raised as a man your entire life and like biologically you were filled with testosterone, and there's like a high prevalence of autism within the trans community as well. And so like, if you are kind of a socially isolated person raised as a man and you are trying to you want to be a woman, and you're trying to figure out what a woman is, I think that your conception of femininity is very likely going to be based off of a few different sources that are maybe not the most true to life. So like one of these is pornography, another one is anime. And so you see in like the trans community, a lot of people wear like thigh high socks and like little like anime skirts and stuff when they're early on in transition. And they emulate a kind of womanhood that is like very specific to the kind of women that they're aware of within their world. So I think that's why you see like certain trans like aesthetics, like the thigh highs and whatnot, developing is really because of that kind of dynamic. I think that as people morb further into their morbition, they just want to be like attractive, and like they've got an idea of like what is attractive by society standards, and that would be like, I don't know, I guess like the Instagram model look. And so like some people will go after that. That's not really something that is easy to achieve, but like I think that trans people probably pursue that for the same reason as cis women do.
Yeah, I think that question was for me, but I totally agree with everything April or Taj just said. Yeah,
I just want to say, Alex clocked me before he clocked Taftage. So yeah.
Alex
knows.
No,
I knew April.
Not really clocked.
No, I knew April.
Oh.
Yeah, we
I
go
just
way
didn't know
back.
if you were started. Yeah, we're tight.
You mean like take a jab at? Is that what you mean by clocked someone?
No, just
I don't
realize
know.
that they're trans. But like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
Stardust is, like,
trans.
Radar,
I'm not trans.
But you are a TERF though, right? Stardust, you're a
I'm not a
trans exclusionary radical
I'm not a
feminist.
TERF. I'm not a TERF.
Lame.
This one
I did not clock Doobie as black. That's the one that evaded me because he doesn't sound
black.
I'm still.
I think that was a
surprised.
fake reveal.
You know what? I didn't clock Nick as literally an old guy from 30 years ago. I
There's a
didn't.
black on my
Really, because I
screen.
clocked that immediately. I think he has
I love you,
Benjamin
Nick.
Button
You
disease.
do.
Well, you know what? He does have like the mannerisms of an old man, sometimes. So
What?
it's
The
not a
issue
bad thing.
is-
It's just a thing, So
I have a theory.
It's kinda funny,
And
though.
My theory is that Nick is an addict. And he's not an addict necessarily of drugs, but I've worked in radio for years and years. When you say radical, very, I guess, things that you're not supposed to say, you get a shot of dopamine to the brain. And a lot of people, when they get pulled into like a radical hole, it's because they are self-medicating in some way. They're chasing that next hit of dopamine.
Do you think that's why
that
you're
they
an
get.
anarcho-communist?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm an anarcho-communist
another reason
for
for that affair.
a number of reasons. But I will say that I did recognize it in myself when I was working in radio, and it's one of the reasons I stepped out.
I'm not a shock jock, though. I mean, I make jokes.
And to be fair to
enjoy
Nick, like
that.
I think most people wouldn't assume that I'm black. Right? I think that's totally a fair.
I would say Nick's biggest problem is he wakes up at 8 p.m. and that's morning for him.
That's true.
That's degenerate. Not
Yeah,
good,
you're right.
Nick.
No,
Not good,
I'm
Nick.
basically a
The worst
vampire. I'll
thing.
throw Nick a bone there.
You're
Curtis
right,
Fowler
Steven.
says China's population will be half of what it is, or 50% of currently living folks in China will die by 2050. I can't find a projection for the first one.
It's between 2050 and 2100, or like 2100. So I think that's usually where the estimates range. And like you have to be like a little bit. Obviously, like predicting the future was always difficult, but like by current trends, or if you guess that trends are going to accelerate or decelerate, you'll get different predictions.
Gotcha. GBO Farm says, why does Doobie continually talk about man-boy sex? You don't talk
I
about
find it
kinda weird.
fascinating for a ton of reasons that I'd love to talk to you about later.
That's gay.
it. Is, let's see, Austin, it is interesting. This one from Austin Autism Forums. Please ask Jesse to sing anything by System of a Down. I have autism. Okay. Mark Lozano says, is anyone going to mention how women are hypergamous? Also,
That's not true.
SO to Nick, keep being awesome, champ. We love you.
Let's go.
Are women hypergamous, gang?
No.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not. Like, first off, like hypergamy isn't a thing in humans. But then second of all, what you're trying to say is women are constantly trying to date and marry up. I mean,
True.
everyone is trying to get the best partner that they can, that they vibe with the best. Women are under added economic pressure to find someone who they don't just like, but can also provide for them. I mean, you mentioned Taft, the sort of the MRS degree. I mean, there's specific economic reasons why they would do that. I think what's happening is that some people who feel like they can't
Oh man,
get a
dude,
woman,
I can't. I'm going to be arguing with every single thing everybody says if I like step in anywhere here.
Women
I
are like
can't.
51% of the world at the moment. So like, there's actually more women than men.
I don't know what
Gotcha.
that has to do with anything.
It means there's enough partners for every single man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
the
that's not
numbers,
how
guys.
that plays out. Like,
Yeah, it's not how
we
it's
know
figured.
that
No,
sex is
certainly not.
decreasing for like millennials, but that's not true for like the most attractive, like most competent guys. They're having way more sex, and so like the slack needs to
Where are
exist
you getting
somewhere.
that? Where are you getting that information?
From OkCupid
actually,
data specifically, they did like a big study.
If
Well,
I
I would
recall
have to see that
correctly, I
study.
remember seeing a study just a little while back that it was like a few years behind the male virginity study, but essentially virginity it showed in a study that virginity was on the rise for women too. I would have to look into it again. Maybe not at the same extent that it is for men, but it was showing that virginity was rising for women as well.
Yeah, millennials are having, or like the youngest generation is having way less sex. And it is disproportionately, that figure is contributed to by men, and like a very specific group of men, which is like men who are like on the bottom half of like looks, attractiveness, competence, and whatnot. But like it is in general. Sex
Why
is
say
just
so many words when you
decreasing.
could just say gripers? Sorry.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
Nick
no
type men.
bitches. Ah ha ha! It's hilarious. Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, Nick, have you seen that meme where they put you on your face on Flanders when he's, or not Flanders, who's the guy who's gay in The Simpsons and likes Mr. Burns? Which one is that guy?
But we must move on.
Yeah. He's got like women
good.
dancing in like bikini tops and bottoms, and he's cringing away from them. They stuck your head in that. Have you seen that one?
No.
No,
But that was
it's
Next
funny.
up, Alphabet says to everyone, do you think the cost of living spaces, and typical work arrangements in a society affect the fertility of that society?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, but I think maybe people overestimate that.
This one coming in, Rachel Wilson says, buy my book on how feminism comes out of the occult, and Alex is a national treasure. It's Rachel
Hey, I
Wilson.
appreciate that.
Jesus
Thank you.
Christ.
Only
Hey, Brent,
one
it's a
says-
fact. I am, so deal with it.
Feminism comes out of the Where do you find
It
these
is what
people?
it is. I'm a national treasure.
This one from
They said it
Leslie
best.
Flemons says, for Nick, should women be blamed for being raped or sex trafficked?
What? No. No, I don't think so.
This one from Robin says, what are the great female empires of history? If there are none due to males keeping them from greatness, isn't that proof of their, let's see,
It's a great
what
point.
does Toto mean? Like Toto. If their
No
inability
idea.
to do so, I don't know. So what are the great female empires of history, Brenton?
The great female empires of history?
Yes.
I don't think there are any female empires, but again, like the only empires that we've had, again, rose about 6,000 years ago, and except for like the Mongols, they were all single godded, like it was either Christianity or Judaism or Islam. There's something about that particular type of religion that emphasizes like male leadership and also emphasizes empire and conquest. So yeah, there probably weren't any female empires that we have record of, but again, that's just because the only cultures that do empire also tend to be heavily patriarchal.
So
Ooh,
Well, hey,
wrong.
I
I'm
wanna say
gonna
this thing.
That's
I'm gonna outflank Nick on the right here. The real based answer actually is women are currently presiding over the largest empire in all of human history. The United States has become an empire ran by women. That's why it's being driven into the ground. Women and feminine energy are infecting
Yeah,
men
but if that's
all over the
true,
United States.
Destiny,
They're ruining the
Destiny, if
schools. They're
that's
ruining the
true.
institutions. Like that's what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Well, why
There's not
can't
enough.
women get drafted?
51% of the world's population is women. It's not enough. We need to up those numbers.
Yeah, but why can't women get drafted if the world's ruled by women?
Because no one passed a law that says women have to get drafted. I would prefer no one be drafted.
Women are running things from
Yeah,
behind
I
the
know,
scenes.
but-
They don't want to get drafted.
but
They
why-
want men
why
to die,
can
so they
men-
continue to have
why
control.
can men get drafted and women can't? Wouldn't that say there's a war on men, that we have to be forced to
No.
fight in a war?
No, it
No?
says that the military thought that it could do
Men are
better
stronger and
expand-
better. Yeah, exactly.
No,
yeah, 'cause
it's
men are
going to
better.
expand faster.
Well, I mean,
by drafting men, but there hasn't been a draft since Vietnam. So that
Yeah, but that, hey,
it's
World War
barely even a
III
thing.
with Ukraine, we just gave them another 500 million. You got
that's
Nancy
not World
Pelosi and
War
her big
III,
titties
dude.
are all in Taiwan. You never know, dude.
That's
I
not
would
World
also
War
say
III.
that if America's a female empire, then that would be a credit to me because America got us ass kicked by the Taliban. So it was literally
That's a fact.
literate guys in rags beat the shit out of women with thermal and UAV and freaking stealth bombers.
Hang on.
A bunch of guys in Toyota Tundras,
We
literally.
got
Everyone
Taliban
knows
every day.
Afghanistan
If it's
famously.
women with drones versus boys in the Taliban, I got Taliban all day. Money's on the Taliban.
Nick, no one has ever beaten, no empire has ever beaten Afghanistan in the long run. Not Alexander the Great, not the Soviets, not the Americans. You cannot control
I've
mountains.
never heard this before. Afghanistan's a graveyard of empires. I've never heard that before.
So then why are you saying stupid shit if you assume that you did see it before?
And they got their ass kicked by the Viet Cong, and we got our ass kicked by Iraq, and we get our ass kicked all the time by the boys, by ISIS. Not that I
Perhaps it
support
is
ISIS. ISIS
that
printed
war
by
is
Israel.
actually really
Super
hard,
late.
and empires have difficulty against this new, more or less new
Just
tactic
girls.
of permanent
Just
Because we're not
insurgency.
grasping the nettle. Okay.
This one coming in from
Forceful
Robin.
enough.
Says, what are the great female empires? Got
You
that
just
one.
asked
Way to
that.
go, Robin.
Yes.
Dumbass.
Defkey says, please settle the debate. Are you natural? I'm all natural, only creatine. John Coyne says, Democrats changed for the definition of what a recession is for Brandon. Is this true?
Wow. Yeah, actually true. I heard that one of the reasons why Biden has been so fucking slippery lately is because he's been up late every night trying to edit that Wikipedia page. Him and Kamala, I think, are in the Oval Office on their MacBooks. They keep trying to change the definition. It's not working. We caught him.
This one from Ghost of Captain Titus Frost says Revolutionary War has fought to free this country from the very same banking cartel that runs the central bank.
Oh no.
Never mind that one. Let's see. Not a Fed.
That's legit.
Thanks for your super sticker. And Fish Died LOL says, can Destiny do the economics rap again? Do you have a rap, Steven?
No.
This one from
Yes, do it. You not having economics rock. Economics can suck on my cock. Economics are really gay. Economics every freaking day. Inflation station. Joe Biden is retarded. When I go to the club, I still get carded. I'm a pimp on a blimp. Inflation can suck my dick.
All right.
You're like someone transplanted the brain of like a middle schooler into a semi-adult body.
What are you talking about? This dude's a fucking genius. How dare you, Brenton?
Thank
How
you,
dare
Stardust.
you?
Thank you. Yes.
You know what the real
Finally.
topic should have been? I don't know. Did anybody chastise Alex for his disgusting treatment of AOC earlier? That ever
Shut
happened?
up, dude. That's my girlfriend, Steve. So listen, you need to shut your trap. That's how we make love. And that's how I know my sexual energy.
Actually,
yes, dude. And she liked it. And she liked it,
unironic, degenerate fucking behavior. Super disgusting. I'm surprised you guys didn't
Oh
go
my
over
God,
it.
but just because you're gay and you have an open relationship with your wife, you let her get banged by other dudes. See, that's just like AOC, Riley.
Careful,
I know, but
Alex.
see,
Okay, here's
dude,
the
it's
thing.
funny. Steven, you let other dudes bang your girl, so you're calling me a sexual degenerate while a guy's jizzing on your wife.
I'm calling
So,
you
yeah,
a
go
sexual
ahead.
degenerate
Yeah,
because
oh, I'm a degenerate
you're
like guys.
actually
Yeah, but
unironically
guys are-
harassing.
guys are
You're
jizzing
actually
on your
sexually
wife.
harassing a
You're
woman.
getting this wrong.
Guys
At
jizz
work,
on your
actually
wife, and
sexually
I'm a
harassing a
sexual
woman at
degenerate.
work.
Alex,
An
he's
actual
so-
degenerate,
he's-
yeah.
Yeah, keep
He's
on
so
that.
alpha. He's so
Guys
alpha
are
that he's not
really
intimidated by
inside
other
your
men's
wife.
jizz.
Move on to the
Okay.
next one.
Goddamn goblin.
Men's jizz
yeah,
don't
yeah,
phase him because he's so
yeah.
alpha.
All right,
Yeah,
enough
you're so
about
alpha.
this.
Other guys can blow their load on
All
your
right.
girlfriend. and you're so
Absolutely.
alpha.
Listen, there might be 100
that's
guys.
awesome.
There
That's
might be
really
100
non-degenerate.
BBCs
That's
blowing
so-
their load right now, but I'm still not out there sexually harassing women. How crazy is that, huh?
Oh, really? That's better.
one.
Oh, my gosh.
Coming in
Come on,
from
Jess.
Alex,
Strive.
two-croquet fallacy.
All right.
Look it up.
Listen, Strive says,
Dudes blow
"Let
their
Destiny
loads in
date."
his
All right,
wife or his
next question.
Two-croquet
This one coming
fallacy.
in from
Look it up.
Strive. They said, let Destiny finish his point on the economy. Way too many dumb points that cannot be left to rest. I think they were.
I think the
enjoying
point I
your-
was just trying to make is that it's hard to tell if we're actually in a recession. It's a really hard thing to measure. People will focus on certain figures on like the CPI or whatever, or people will look at like mortgage rates, or people will look at like 2 quarters of GDP growth. But there's also like really weird things happening right now too. Like unemployment is very low. We don't have like a huge unemployment crisis right now. Wages are growing really quickly in certain sectors that are outpacing inflation, even depending on the sector you're talking about. So it's a very weird economic time we're in. And the idea that like everything is shit just because gas prices are high is kind of silly, and it's not tracking on to the lived experiences of a lot of Americans at the moment.
Yeah, but the employment
Shopify
participation
just got
rate
rid
is
of
lower.
10% of its workforce.
Who?
It's like Shopify.
No, who the fuck
That's like a
asked?
bunch
Why the
of
fuck would I
companies.
care about what one company like
Because
offload some
that's not one company.
Let's
That's
go.
just you're seeing it happening.
no,
It's
you're not.
rippling
You're
throughout
not.
the
What's the
industry.
unemployment? Then you look at
It's
the.
all
Then you look at
just
the.
happen to have a shop through Shopify. Is that why you're paying attention to that?
No, you just look at the
No,
unemployment
it's
rate.
because like I see everyone freaking out on TikTok.
You
It's
say-
hilarious.
oh, okay.
But,
Why not just
like,
look-
it's
just-
in the
Okay, so
news.
that's because they have a Shopify.
Sure. Just
all right, that makes
look
sense.
at the unemployment rates, right? They're very, 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 very low. The idea that like we're in like a traditional recession where everybody's getting fucked and like everything is slowing down is just not true. It's a very weird
Yeah, but
time we
that's
live in
because
economically.
Not everybody's
labor
getting
force
fucked, just your
participation
girlfriend,
rate-
Steven.
All right.
Nice.
It's
labor
because a
force
million people are
participation rate is
dead.
lower.
Like
Oh,
that's
that's
why
not
we're
why.
having this, in my opinion.
There's
There's
a
a million
labor
people are
shortage
dead.
because
They
people
used to
dropped
be
out of the labor
Stardust.
force. That's
This
why
one
wages
from-
are rising. That's why unemployment's low.
Dandy says people who subscribe to moral relativism will never agree with people who believe in objective good and evil. Thoughts? Jesus Christ is King, Revelation 2:9.
There is absolutely no such thing as objective good and evil. And in fact, I wanted to get to this because what I saw actually out of Nick earlier on was he was attempting to derive an ought from an is, which we have known is physically impossible since David Hume. Like you can describe the world as things ought, or as things are, but you cannot say that these are this way, therefore it ought to be this way, especially not within the confines of morality.
Well, yeah, because you don't believe in God. Okay, I don't believe in
Whoa,
David
whoa,
Hume.
you
I
didn't
believe
ask.
in God.
I'm a Buddhist, dude, so I do.
Oh my gosh,
This
gets
one-
better and better.
I don't see you. You want to talk with me about Buddhism? We can do it.
I'm not interested in that.
Well, that's all right, because I used to be a Catholic, and I can know that you actually are a heretic.
Oh, really?
You were like the definition of a heretic.
Why
This
is
one
that?
coming in. Samir says for equality and 50-50, but usually once granted, the ex-underdog starts chipping at your 50%. Day 1, don't make me say God in the Pledge of Allegiance. Day 2, I'm offended that you say God.
Wow, base.
What?
Is it true that the left is clamping down more and more on theists or religious folks?
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
In what ways?
Why? Why do you guys think that?
I thought. Wait, hold on. I haven't been following. Didn't they just win a case in the Supreme Court about like getting to pray in public schools or some shit? I thought that.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
I know,
did.
but why was it
the left
illegal
have to do
before
it.
that? Yeah, why
Because
did
the
they why did it have
separation
to
of
go
church
before?
and state.
Oh,
Yeah,
I wonder,
hold on. Do you think that
Doobie,
was?
what you got?
Well, I would just like to know, like, in what ways they're clamping down on religious people.
A guy tried
Yeah.
to pray during a football game and he got fired from his job. That's how.
And he,
But that's not
and he took
them
it to court and he won the
clamping down.
case.
He had to go all the way to. So yeah, I know. So that shows you there's a war on it. He had to fight in order to get that right to do it.
He probably planned
It
that
shows that the
specifically
school-
to
No,
do
he
that.
didn't
Sounds like
plan it.
an-
Okay,
Conspiracy
okay. The
theorist. Go get
planning,
your
the planning
tinfoil
is too
hat.
much.
Go get your tinfoil hat.
Your name is
Hold on,
literally
please.
Conspiracy Cast.
Wait, no, come,
I'm
wait.
on the grind all the time. I know, but I'm just saying.
Right.
Come on, you know he didn't. He didn't.
Wait, so
plan
okay,
that.
so to be clear, so like, is there some other thing? Because I think even if you were to try to make that argument, pointing to one dude getting fired because he prayed in the middle of like a school event is not enough to justify like a clamping
Well, they
down
took out
on
under
one
God
religion.
from the Pledge of Allegiance, so there you go.
Yeah.
Wait, did they really?
Democrats are very.
No,
there are
they
a lot of
didn't.
very religious
Yes, they
Democrats.
did.
So I mean, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Wait, did they
I
actually
think
take
so
out
the
under
clamping-
God from the Pledge of Allegiance? Did I miss this?
Yes.
No, they didn't.
Yes.
But fun
Yes, they
fact.
did.
The Pledge of Allegiance was created by a socialist.
Oh, well, and then also didn't they add that under God part in 1952? I hadn't heard anything about them taking
I don't
it
know
out.
if it was in the pledge, but they did add the under God to the money in 1950.
Eisenhower added under God, yeah.
What in
Yes,
what?
it's like
Yeah,
further.
okay.
Occupy Democrats became a human being, walked among us. And that's
Oh,
Oh,
the
shoot,
worst
I just looked it up
possible
to verify that I wasn't talking out my ass. You're pretty
Being
close.
liberal Facebook
1954, Eisenhower
became
added it to
man.
the pledge.
This one coming in from Flop Tina says Stardust described Nick perfectly. Ask about his. Let's see. Also glad to see Marie and Alex are here. Next up, Nicholas Federico says howdy from Texas. War on humanity, in particular men, both men and women. Though space is 100% fake. Who will be POTUS in 2024? God bless. Nick means victory, but Alex wins.
Wait,
I'll
Alex, do
take
you think
it.
space is fake?
I don't know if it's exactly how they describe it because I don't think you can look through a telescope at something
You think there's
thousands
a
of light
firmament?
years away.
If there's a war on men, there's not enough of a war on men. We need more.
Wait, do you think glasses are real? Alex?
What?
Eyeglasses?
Yeah, does that work?
Yeah, I think your wife has to wear them when guys are jizzing on her face. so she
Nice.
doesn't
Do you
get
think
poked out.
do you think microscopes are like real? Like when your
Why did
girlfriend's
you
trying to find your dick, does that work? Or like if microscopes and glasses work?
Why don't you just
if
ask your wife if my dick works?
microscopes,
Why did you
do you want me to
bring it
ask
up?
my
Are you
wife if she
jealous?
needs to use a
Are you
microscope
jealous
to
that
find your
you're not
dick?
getting
Hold on, wait, can I ask
on
this?
your
I think
face?
he called me. He said that I'm a sexual harasser, yet he literally lets
You are a
dudes
sexual
jizz
harasser.
on
Keep
his
talking
wife.
about cum on people's faces. It sounds like you want cum on your face,
gross.
bro.
No,
Okay,
but
Alex,
you let it have it on your
Alex,
girlfriend. I
you
think
are
that's
a sexual
disgusting.
harasser. There's no way
I'm
to
just
do
curious
that.
if you think
you were
that
kind of pinging my gaydar when I first met you.
if you think that glasses are real, I'm just curious why you can't think telescopes are real. Isn't it kind of like the same
No,
concept?
I think
or-
telescopes are real. I just don't think, looking at a telescope, you can tell everything about a planet or something like that. So I don't think they know everything
Wait,
about
what?
other planets.
Anonymous one says, James, can you set up a Vosh versus Nick debate? I don't know. Destiny, what do you think? Do you think your buddy Vosh should go for it?
Vosh doesn't debate right wingers anymore.
This one
I
from
would be all
PP
for it, 100%.
Yeah,
PP
Bosch is afraid of
McGee
Nick, unironically.
says Nick is handsome and smart. This one from Mr. Crab says, if all it takes is to, quote, identify as a woman and be accepted as a woman, is Rachel Dolezal a black woman because she identifies and is accepted as a black woman?
No, because race is not a social role. Race is like
Wait,
a
come on.
technology employed
Wait,
by
isn't
the
race
state.
what people look like? Isn't race kind of. Never mind.
Didn't you
Race
say
isn't
earlier-
a social
yeah.
role.
Didn't you
do you
say
got,
earlier
Doobie?
that woman is a social role and it's an idea? And okay, so what's if you're saying that race is not that?
He thinks that
Like, I don't
race is
understand.
more tangible than.
Well, no, I don't
sex.
think it's
So
more
I would say
tangible. I think it's
gender is
realized in a
more.
different
I would
way.
say gender is more. Not gender. Sex is more tangible than
Significantly
race.
more
Absolutely.
tangible.
Yeah.
Yeah, significantly more tangible. I mean, the reason we have the races that we have right now is it was convenient to the Elizabethans. Like, race is used by the state as a means of policing groups under its power that it considers to be unruly.
So, Brenton, do you think it'd be better if people could just identify into race? Because then it wouldn't be policed by the state, right?
No,
yeah, this is a tool of the state to suppress the masses. Why wouldn't we reject it?
Like people don't identify. Like if
you don't think that people identify as different races?
If a judge or a cop is going to treat someone worse because of their race, if it's
like Doobie over here.
Like it has nothing to do with them identifying as one race or the other.
So for somebody to
so go back to my original question.
By the way, Nick is the dude who calls 911.
Do you think the world would be better if it was a world where people could identify into race without having it projected onto them by a cop or whatever? Do you think that'd be a better world?
Without it being projected onto them?
Where people just identify and that's it.
I think you're defining race out of relevant existence. It is the projecting onto them by sovereign power that.
But you think it would be a better world, right? Where Rachel Dolezal can identify as a Black woman and be a Black woman, right?
So in the event that we had a world where Black people were not targeted by the state, but were somehow still a race, sure, whatever, I don't care.
Wait, hold on. Can I? Because it seems like you're saying that if there were a Black person in the United States, if there were a Black person in the United States who for some reason hadn't interacted with systemic oppression, hadn't been dealt with racist cops, maybe wasn't selling drugs, so didn't interact with like a racist judge, right? If this person would be less Black than other Black people,
they'd be a white presenting Black.
I mean, in the sense that like,
is there something like inherent about being Black that requires you to like be a criminal or like to interact with police? Like, what do you?
It's how the state perceives you.
Okay, so answer the question then. So would they be less Black than a Black person who had gone through all those things?
No.
Why not?
Because it would be pure luck that they didn't.
What?
If I could, I think you guys are already on this like line, but I have argued this before just for fun, but I think you guys are pretty much at this point already. But when somebody transitions to being a woman, the way that I've heard it explained is that when that woman, like, because as soon as you start presenting as a woman, you inherit all of the oppression that women get in society, whereas you can't really do the same thing with race. You can't really like transition into a race. I don't know how accurate that is, but I thought
there's also biological differences between trans women.
I thought we were going somewhere different. Oh my God.
No, good God, no.
Do you think there are biological differences in the races?
Good catch, Steve.
No, there are no biological differences whatsoever.
Okay, so evolution
not a single.
Yeah, there are.
Like pigment in the skin. Is not a biological difference.
That doesn't have anything to do with race.
Based tranny in a bag of hat.
The evolution
Wait, what the fuck are you saying, dude? You're saying pigment in the skin has nothing to do with race?
It is how someone is perceived based upon but it's like putting the cart before the horse.
But the evolution that led to the differences in skin pigmentation, are you saying that evolution stopped at the skin? It didn't go any deeper than that?
Let's go.
That's not evolution, so no. You like
what? Why do you think?
Why do Black people have sickle cell anemia more than white people?
Hold on, Wait, why do white people have white skin?
Oh my God. Okay, this is like an entire debate here.
It's not that complicated.
It's only Black people who come from a very specific part of Africa that have sickle cell anemia.
Why do you think there are differences in skin tone?
Okay, well, why don't white people have it then?
Why do you think there are differences in skin tone, like pigmentation, melanin, etc.? Like, why do you think there are differences?
I mean, those are inherited.
It's because hell burned us because we sin more.
What?
So
where did this come from?
Where did what come from?
Oh God, I'm sorry. You're going to
say? Are you saying like where did it come from?
The reason why you can't transition races is because it's inconvenient to the progressive narrative. Okay.
Yes.
That's
no. Wrong. Okay, hold on. Jesus fucking Christ. Yes. The reason why is because you don't have your brain doesn't have a fucking race. You don't have an internal experience of race. Right?
Thank you.
Exactly.
That's what I was going to go to.
But
okay, you do.
But that's why progressives would argue that you should, theoretically, be able to transition races.
No, you can't transition race. That doesn't make sense. No, hold on. That'd be like transitioning ages. It doesn't make any sense to transition race.
It's social roles. It's social roles.
No, it's not fucking social roles. What are you talking about?
That's what he's arguing.
I don't know. He's not.
That's what he's saying right now.
Wait, that's who's saying? Brenton is not a progressive. He's an anarcho whateverist.
Yeah. Okay, anarcho is
True.
whatever.
Okay, as a progressive on the panel, that is not my view. Okay, you cannot be transracial, and there's a fundamental difference between the internal experience of race, which doesn't exist, versus the internal experience of sex, which I think does exist.
Yeah. Which is what I was trying to say when I said there are biological differences. Like they've done brain scans of trans people, and like the brain is closer to the gender that they identify with.
Brenton, you don't believe this. You don't believe that you need to like prove that you have a certain brain to transition. Like you're not.
No, why would I?
No, exactly. This is my point, right? Because you believe that people should have the right to change whatever they want about their gender presentation, to take whatever hormones they are, and to like be accepted into society as that, regardless of whatever's going on in their brain. Like that is the progressive position, as far as I'm aware, is that you should have the freedom to do that, right? And so I think it would be
that's like I'm an anarchist. Literally, everyone should have the freedom to do everything for the most part.
Yeah. So I think like the consistent thing to say would be that like it shouldn't matter what is in your brain, but you should be able to like
I'm not saying
change your skin color, do whatever you want, as long and be like accepted into society. I think
I'm not saying that it matters. Look, I'm not saying that it matters like what's in your brain. What I'm doing right there is I'm drawing a disanalogy to prove that Rachel Dolezal is not analogous to a trans person's experience. Now you can disagree with me on that, but that's specifically pointing to the brain as a relevant difference.
Yeah, so I can say that because I'm a trans medicalist, okay? I think there is like a relevant biological difference here. And that's that like trans people have like dysphoria, like a medical condition, which is why they're transitioning. And I don't think that exists for like transracial people. I think it's just like attention grabbing histrionics. Ooh. So like I think that's the difference.
We're call her a TERF. She's a TERF. Call her a TERF. Is she a TERF?
Hey, Doobie's not black. That was a fake out. He's trolling us. You're not black. I knew it.
Yeah,
this one coming in.
You look exactly how I thought you
couldn't resist.
Didymus says, Nick, if the America became a Catholic theocracy, it would no longer be America.
No, that's not true. That's not true because Catholicism is more Christian than Protestantism. So people go, "Oh, America's a Protestant nation." It's like, okay, well, England was a Catholic nation, and
wait, hang on though.
The Catholic Church is the mother of all the nations.
Well, why not just go back to England then?
What?
Why not just go back to England then?
Because we're in America.
Wait, hold on. I want to hear the theological argument. I'm curious. You say the Catholic Church is the birthplace of all of Christian religion, right? Because everybody broke off from the Catholic Church because they gave up on us. Okay, they're losers. But could you not argue that the Catholic Church is kind of like a break off of Judaism? That Christianity came from Judaism, and that's kind of like a betrayal of
No, because rabbinical Judaism happened after the death of Christ. The Jews of the Old Testament, their Messiah came. His name was Jesus.
Yeah, but what about the ones that don't believe that? The ones that don't believe that he's the Messiah. He's just another prophet. Aren't you like breaking off from them like Protestants broke off from the Catholic Church?
No, because Christianity fulfilled that. It's a continuation.
You're begging the question. They didn't believe that it fulfilled that, of course, right? Just like you don't believe that Muhammad is the prophet of fucking Allah or whatever, right?
And they're objectively wrong. And then they went and they wrote down their oral tradition in the 3rd and 5th century in Babylon and in Jerusalem, and it's called the Talmud. And they worship. In the Talmud it says that the rabbis correct God. That's a different religion. So if anything, rabbinical Judaism is a deviation because the fulfillment of the Old Testament is the New Testament. And objectively, rabbinical Judaism is a deviation from that.
Oh, well,
all I'm saying is that if you like Catholicism so much, Nick, maybe you should go back to, England or wherever you came from. So
okay,
it's a bad joke.
It would probably be Germany.
You should go back to like Pakistan
Light of the Twin
Lamps, India.
Light of the Twin Lamp says to Nick and Doobie and anyone who wants to add their opinion, thoughts on the FBI no longer collecting race data in regards to crime.
Is that true?
I'm not aware of that happening.
So for Nick and Doobie in particular, they asked.
I just Googled news stories. I don't see any of that. Is that? I've never.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, sorry, I was draining my penis. I don't know if that's true. If it were true, it's really stupid. I don't think that they should do that.
But they do that in other countries.
Yeah,
like in Germany, they stopped doing that with migrants, and they do this all the time because reality is undeniable.
Well, or they know what happens
Samir.
when racism gets out of control in Germany.
Yeah, crime stops.
Well, I think if there are specific communities that are having issues with crime, we need to be able to target those communities to like fix those problems, right?
That's true.
Sure.
That's true. Like
that's not
Germany targeted those communities, right?
Oh, God.
He's talking about.
This one from appreciate your question. Samir says maybe Ben Shapiro will run. He's a loyal following. Maybe. Sausage Lord says, Nick, thanks for asexual representation on the panel. Brian Cleary says, Nick and Destiny is my favorite bromance. When is the podcast? Jake says,
soon. We're working on it.
Jake says, Nick, if you had to marry Stardust, let's see. All right, that's weird. Bushy says, Doobie.
Whoa, let's.
I can't.
Okay, all right.
This one says, Bushy Doobie. Oh, that's Nikki says, Jane, appreciate it.
Wait, was it meant to be an insult? If it was, I want to hear it. It'd be...
No, it's not an insult. It's just
Lame.
they were asking why you're black. I don't get it. I think they're trying to like trigger people or something. I don't know. Is that what they say?
I do identify as a black man. It's
trying
true.
to trigger people
Sometimes.
But Nikki, thanks for your kind words, says, but why is it so hard to admit that men and women are different?
I don't think anybody doesn't admit that men and women are
Rant,
different.
are you sure nobody does?
Yeah, I'm certain men and women are different.
Oh, okay. Prison Palace says, what does Nick think of Deborah's role in the Bible?
I don't know.
This one from Yo says, okay, I think this is sincere, so they're not trying to trigger you, Taff. They says, was April's decision to transition influenced by porn brain poisoning from a young age? Maybe they are trying to trigger you.
Yeah, that no way is that a trigger thing.
I was actually like somewhat late to the party when it came to like, I don't know, sexual awakening and masturbation. So probably not in my case, but who knows?
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Jessica Puzzle says, Marie's mom's investment was having a lot of money. Also, Stardust wouldn't say it, but let's see. Tell Taff I would 100% lesbian her up. Okay, thanks.
I just felt like it was inappropriate for me to say it right now, Taff. I would have called you after.
Understandable.
Thank you. And this one from Ryan Rockwell says, as the only known virgin on the panel, shouldn't Nick have more to say on the topic? Sex in millennial demos. What's his take on why he gets no females?
Well, as I said, I am an asexual incel, so it's a little bit different for me. I'm in sort of the category of eccentric genius, asexual incel. But I talked about it. The problem is feminism. The problem is fertility rates declining all across the board because women are nasty these days. That's not my situation. I'm an incel. But as far as other people, women are not cool. Okay?
Hold on, can you wait? Why do you keep calling yourself an incel? Shouldn't you be a volcel? Wouldn't that be a better term?
I am an incel.
So you want women, but you can't get them.
I'm an internet celebrity and an involuntary celibate. Also, I am asexual.
Wait, hold on,
so
Nick.
I don't want to have sex
Let's
with
be real.
anyone.
There are plenty of women out there who'd suck your pee for you, right?
I don't think that's true. I'm dark. I'm like Ryan Gosling. I'm like.
There are women on my server. There are women on my server
Batman.
who simp over you and talk about how hot you are. I'll introduce
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Change
sure.
your whole life now.
Didn't you have like a whole thing with somebody who like sent you a super chat or something, and they were hitting on you, and then you did a whole rant about it?
Well, she was crazy.
Nick, the last time you were on my server, you almost got it deleted, but I love you, and I want to change your life. Okay, so if you visit us, I'll 100% set you up with an e-girl. Okay,
We'll
get your dick sucked. We'll fly her out for you. It'll be a whole thing.
That's a mortal sin. Also, I am asexual and I am an incel. And the thing is, okay, women are obese, okay, and they're rude.
So you have a small dick.
They're not all obese.
I have a big dick, actually, and a big pair of balls. Not that it's anybody's business.
All right, let's move on to the next one. First
and
name,
Stardust
last name.
business as well.
Alex, did it look as big in person as it does on TV? What are they talking about, Alex?
On TV, my dick. It's a nice dick. I mean,
all right, let's do the next one. Jake Lesba says, I noticed that. Let's see. I noticed that Marie disagrees with Nick on the ultimate role of women. Marie, will you have a dialogue or debate with Nick on this topic?
I don't even know if we really even got into that conversation. I'm not sure if we totally disagree or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, and also you're not even Christian, so I don't know what's going on with that.
I'm just like, I am, but I'm like not practicing, so I think it's wrong to say you are something if you don't go to church and
Nick,
do
you
all
can
that.
fix
Can we take a moment to shit on all these? Nick, join me here for a moment. Can we take a minute to shit on all these non-denominational Christians, these quote unquote spiritual people that don't go to church, don't have a real relationship with God, don't have a real commitment to any particular sect? What are you? You might as well be crystal worshipers at that point. I think that's degenerate.
That's why I said I don't want to
go.
like say I am anything, because it's like I think if you don't have a denomination and all this stuff, it's kind of like you're LARPing at that point.
True.
I agree.
So, like, how-
Destiny's so
Marie-
based on this point.
Marie, do you
Absolutely.
own any crystals or like frankincense? Like, is that,
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
No progress, says Alex 1. George Nada says Nick's thoughts about Sam C. Guzzler. Okay, just Nick's thoughts about Sam Cedar claiming to have emails to quote out Nick. Is this true? Did Destiny's buddy Sam say that he has those emails?
Yeah, I've heard that, and I think he said that one other time. But as always with these things, people say that and
Challenge him to release the tapes. Where are they?
yeah, honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he said it a few times. I'd be very curious to see what.
There's the call out. There it is. Nick Fuentes challenging Sam Cedar. It's like Kira and fucking L on Death Note right now on live TV, challenging him to release the tapes. Let's see if he does it.
Well, yeah, and there was that thing a few weeks ago on what is it, Crazy Days and Nights, where they're like, "Oh, someone's selling a gay sex tape of Nick for $100,000. Oh boy, this America First is over," and then and then nothing ever materializes. Yeah, I'd be very curious to see what that's all about, because that's been claimed for a little while.
True.
This one from Robin says purpose of women is procreation. The war is denying this.
My God. So nothing has an inherent purpose. Women do like reproduce, but that's not a purpose. Nature doesn't have a mind to give something a purpose. Like it's him projecting that purpose onto the process of reproduction.
Why does my cat yell at me because she's not pregnant? Is it not her purpose to get impregnated and have babies?
Correct.
And is
It is
it
not her
not
purpose.
women? Yes, it
Purpose
is.
is-
It is
purpose
literally
is-
her
no.
purpose
Purpose-
of
no.
living is to give life.
Is the purpose of a river to flow? No, it doesn't have a purpose. It's just happening. Purpose is something that people imbue objects and pieces of reality with mentally. We're the ones
Does
that
your
create
dick
purpose.
have a purpose?
No. Well,
That's a personal
sometimes.
question.
This one from
No, it doesn't. Hold on.
Yeah.
This one from Sam Mahagna says, Brenton is what I visualize when I think of a Redditor. Brenton, is this an insult?
I don't know. I don't go on Reddit, so I have no idea.
It
This
is an
one-
insult, for clarification.
Okay, thank you.
At least he
This
didn't
one-
call you a Discord mod, so
This
There
one
we go.
from Sausage Lord says, Stardust, why do you allow Brenton to appropriate Indian Buddhism while he also tries to allow trans women into biological women's spaces?
Wait. Okay, so I'm not a Buddhist. So, it's not my place to be, telling him, gatekeeping or whatever. If that's what you are, that's what you are. And yeah,
Thank
just leave me away from it. Leave me, out of this.
I'll be sure not to shakabuku you. So like, yeah, this is ridiculous because Buddhism is essentially, like in a lot of ways, at least how it started out.
Are you going to explain an Eastern religion to me that originated?
Not to you. I'm explaining
Okay,
it to the guy
all right.
that thinks that there should be racial caps.
I'm just joking.
on who
I'm
is
just
and is
joking.
not a
I'm
Wait,
Buddhist.
Stardust, where the fuck are you even from?
I'm of Indian origin, so.
Okay, but what state were you born in? Can I
Oh,
pronounce
no,
it?
I was. Wait, what?
Can I pronounce? You're proud. I thought you're an American, aren't you?
I am an American. I'm an American first.
Are people of Indian
actually.
descent imbued with the knowledge of Buddhism? Okay, calm down with the racial essentialism.
I'm
Nick, all right,
joking. It was
you're
called-
trying
it's
to
called a joke.
You're trying to appeal to Nick here. Okay, you're emboldening his racist views. All right,
Just right.
How am I
She's a
Slow it
emboldening
down.
anything? Oh
Slow
my
it down.
god.
But just so like Buddhism, especially like Theravada Buddhism, is essentially Hinduism stripped
Oh my
for
God.
export. The purpose of it was to go beyond India.
You know how this is giving me PTSD from like college. Whenever you get like all the Hindu, all the white Hindus and all the white Buddhists who come onto the college campus, and then they would set up.
Are you talking
their
about
little
Hare
thing
Krishnas?
there. Yeah, and they would set up their thing, and then they would and then you'd go, all the Indian kids, we'd be like, oh yeah, like free food, whatever. So we go there and we get free food, but then inevitably you get somebody explains Hinduism to you while you're trying to just get free food. Yeah,
because it's a Hare Krishnas. Those are a cult.
Yeah, it's usually a white person who's explaining it to you.
Yes, it's a cult that recruits white people in America.
Yeah.
Based.
This one coming in.
Hey, that's like me.
Yeah, true.
Oddly enough, yeah, I think that's the most honest you've been.
Robin says, Brent, don't do philosophy. There are refutations for the you can't derive an is from an ought argument from Hume.
There are attempts at refuting it. I'm not aware of any, but maybe I read the wrong books. So
this one from Sam Mahagna says, Nick, when and how did the Destiny Best Friends Forever arc happen?
I don't know. He had this sort of great awakening. The last time we had talked before this blossoming friendship, he was just browbeating me and saying, you hate everyone and you want to kill everyone. You want to kill all black people. It was on the Dick Masterson show. And I'm like, no, Destiny, I didn't know you're chill like that. I'm just a chill guy. Okay. I'm a Christian. I'm a reactionary. And I don't know. Maybe he'd have to say, because I've always been a fan. Okay, I've always been a fan of the StarCraft gameplay, and I've always thought that he's sort of a secret Groiper, crouching Pepe, hidden Groiper sort of action going on.
I think the actual story is that I didn't realize, but me and Nick just have so much in common. We're Hispanic, autistic, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't really believe in dinosaurs either. Okay, so when you're hitting all three of those points, what am I supposed to do?
But Destiny, isn't your son based now? Isn't he conservative?
Yeah, you're obsessed with making cum jokes about my family, so I'm a little bit scared to talk about my 11-year-old.
I didn't make a cum joke about your son. I'm just saying, isn't he? I think he's teaching you. He's converting you. He's converting.
Yeah. Hey, Alex,
I don't think he posts his
Alex, I was conservative straight up until the end of college. I was young GOP, all for Iraq under Bush. In college, I was a right libertarian. Getting out into the real world is what made me an anarchist.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Appreciate it. Fish Monkey says, to say there is no objective truth is a self-contradiction. You are making a universal claim by saying, quote, unquote, there is no truth. The fact of the matter is, there is no facts.
You just made a claim as a universal claim as well. All universal claims, technically, you can say that they're not true because nothing is perfect. So obviously you could argue, I guess, that there's some objective morals out there, but you would have to identify them, find them, and bring them to me so that I could examine them and make sure, oh yes, indeed, this is objective morals.
This one from Samir says, Alex, you are smart. Arguing degrades you. Stop. Incapacitating strike says, Brendan, do you huff paint?
Wait, I gotta ask an important question. Does anybody think that Alex Stein could be that Better Call Saul's guy's son? Am I the only one that sees this?
Probably,
didn't you work at a car lot or something, Alex?
I got a dealer's license. Yeah, I buy and sell cars. Yeah, what? Come on, they're a commodity. I'm a pimp on a blimp, dog.
I can see why. I can see why you did that. You definitely are a good
I could sell. That's what I'm saying. I could sell, underwear to ass. I could sell ice to an Eskimo. I'm a pimp on a blimp. Yeah, I mean, I can actually sell. I didn't just sit on a stream. I actually had to go out in 110-degree heat and sell cars in Texas. Yeah, I've actually had to grind it out, unlike a lot of people on the internet.
I don't think.
Yeah, dude, what have you ever done? Have you ever sold anything in your life? Probably not. Exactly. You've never had a real job. What did you sell? What did you sell?
I agree with you.
Oh yeah.
Are you talking to me or?
I want to tell you. Okay, I actually sell insurance. Okay, that's my job. I'm an insurance person. And so,
I don't believe that.
It's
you couldn't sell. Yeah, you couldn't sell a car to save your life.
It's real.
I used to manage sales, and I would hire you, Alex. You drive me freaking crazy, but I would hire you
because I can sell.
Sausage Lord says, Marie is the only cis white woman on the panel. Do you feel scared?
No, I think I'm fine.
This one from RH says, Marie Fuentes. This one from Lies Fern says, if I can identify as a different race than if I identify as 100% white, will I be able to join Nick's ethno neighborhood?
What? Say that again.
If a black dude identifies as being white, can he join your ethno club?
I don't believe in such things like that. And I'm going to be in the Mexican Italian neighborhood anyway.
Base.
Grays 174 says Catholicism is heretical. Nick, why do you think it's okay to pray to Mary?
I'm not getting into that. I mean, that's, if you want to look that up, it's not heretical. She's a mother of God. She intercedes on our behalf. Is Protestant nonsense.
Yeah,
This one from
Into
Rob.
a
I'll
woman
get with
sounds
Nick on
kind of
that.
gay,
Like-
so
Well, we're not, okay? Vedic priestess.
Yeah, I feel like
This
you know.
one, we have so many. Just
That's okay,
let me
keep
just
going.
quick. Robin says, Nick, Rome broke from Orthodoxy. Protestants followed.
That's not true. Orthodoxy broke from Rome. Peter's the leader, obviously.
Surfing Cowboy says, a troon, a commie that aligns with every corporation, the 6 millionth comedian, a cat boy, a tech support agent, a random. Let's see, what is this? Okay,
He's just insulting everybody on here.
what is it?
That's what he's doing.
It's a transgender person
I'm a-
insult. Nice job, James. That's like the N-word for
sorry.
trans
Well,
people.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
literally.
really bad.
Yes.
Really fucked.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry.
Worse
It sounds
than
like I'm
the
joking, but
N-word.
it is. It's like a Kiwi Farms insult for fucking trans. I don't know if it came from Kiwi Farms, but yeah.
Sorry, I did not know that for real. And then the commie, so for real, sorry about that. And then the commie, that must be Brenton though.
Yeah.
And then
Wait, which
all
one am
right.
I?
Well, the cat boy.
That's
Maybe
this-
me.
That's Nick. 100%.
Oh, it doesn't make sense because
Clayton
Catboy
Hughes-
Cammy was a Catboy.
Clayton Hughes says, "Are Destiny and Nick best friends?"
No.
Yes.
We're not best friends.
Yes, we are.
Nick needs to work on his shit a lot, okay? He's got some
Yeah,
things.
we are.
He's inconsistent as fuck. He's asexual and incel at the same time. Doesn't even make sense. They
Duality of man.
They threw the classic pray to Mary at you, which is an attack every Catholic has heard, and you let them get away with it. Okay,
Because
these heathens.
dude,
you're not
it's
even.
11:30
You're not. Yeah.
PM,
Okay.
and
Doesn't
this is
defend
this-
his faith. Okay. Like look at this guy
He
over here.
did defend-
Okay. Just
Steven!
unbelievable over here. He's got a lot of work
You're
to do.
embarrassing me.
He's
I
got a
thought
lot.
we
He's
were
got a lot
best
of work to
friends.
do.
You know, next time I see you and we're hanging out, you know, we're gonna talk about.
Oh
this,
yeah,
okay?
and down here in Miami, we can go to Hialeah and hang out with my Cuban people. Okay, get with all
Yeah,
our
I'm inviting
Hispanic
you to my
friends.
birthday party. You're
Okay.
invited to my birthday party.
All right, sounds
Light
good.
of the Twin Lamp says, "Thoughts on Grand Theft Auto 6 having a Latina protagonist? How will they implement the prostitution mechanic?"
The fuck?
Oh, that's funny. I guess.
This one coming in from Dr. Robert says, Nick wants a girlfriend, but his ego won't allow him to admit there's something he wants but can't attain. Oh.
It's not true. I'm
The asexual
asexual and incel, and I hate women.
This one from First Name Last Name says Brenton is an authority on whether things do or don't have a purpose since he himself has zero purpose. I'm sorry, Brenton. We love
No,
you.
I have zero purpose. Purpose is something that is created by humans. So I can create a purpose for myself. Someone else can look at me and think that they see a purpose. That's just how it works. It's a judgment.
I think it's, I don't know. This is always the conservative or reactionary argument is that like progressives don't believe in teleology. They don't believe in a purpose in life. And so they're kind of directionless. And
Yeah,
I
but
don't know,
Christians don't believe in a teleology, but they can't follow their Otello. So like they all have their own. Like if you ever want to, the biggest attack against Christianity is usually pointing out the behaviors of other Christians. So you know, at the end of the day, everybody's fucking up. All right.
Yeah. And I'm not a progressive, so.
True. And caps.
No, I hate ANCAPs.
Jake says,
Jesus Christ.
Nick, are you willing to marry Stardust or Taftage? Is it pronounced Taftage?
you can pronounce it however you want. I think
If
say
Taftage is here, you can
Taftage.
just use the other T word you used earlier, James. Don't worry.
No,
I'll stick with Taftage.
because Stardust isn't white and Taftage isn't a girl. Taftage is a guy.
Not based. Excuse me.
No, that is based.
Can we have some
Disrespecting my
respect?
identity.
He's just not willing to admit it publicly.
Taftage
Ryan
is a
Roswell
racist
says-
tranny, and that
Jesus
Racist
Christ.
tranny.
and that confirms that Destiny's
Okay.
subcommunity
No,
is
no.
just
Half right
racist,
there.
trans, and gay people.
Must-
And
Okay,
that's-
if-
you can't
hold
deny
on.
I tell you guys about doping.
Taftage can be a woman if a guy with the last name of Fuentes can lead a white nationalist movement. Okay, I think that's fair. Okay, I think we can. I think we can. I think we can be okay with that.
Because I never identified as white. I identify as black and Hispanic.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I thought earlier you said you didn't
And I'm
believe in
doing
that.
the
So then,
jobs
so
that
then
whites
earlier,
don't
that
do.
earlier question,
Hey,
you
guys,
lied.
it's like
If a
12.
black dude did believe that he was white, he would be able to join your movement. At least be
Getting close
honest.
to Brenton's
There was a
bedtime.
neighborhood. I wouldn't let you
Oh,
in
no,
my
I'm a
neighborhood. I would call the
I
cops
just have
immediately.
writing to do.
This one from
For an
you guys
ambulance
have to
for
go.
him.
It's totally okay. There's maybe like There's a decent amount of questions left. So if you have to
How
go,
much
Isn't it
longer?
important to
It's fucking
tonight?
EST. It's 12:30 at night
so
here.
late.
Okay.
it is really
We
late.
can't all go to fucking Subway in 30 minutes get a free sub like you can, James. Okay, it's late for us. All right.
That has nothing to do with the time. Okay, next up.
Wait, how do you get a free sub at Subway?
Yeah.
Explain.
Wait. How do you show us, James? How do you get it? Show us.
James,
no, don't tell us.
I
Show.
hope
Show.
that the
Don't tell.
chat can forgive me because I don't know if we can get through all these questions. I'll show the tattoo if the chat can forgive me that we won't.
You got a
don't forget-
Subway tattoo?
No, shut up.
No,
you don't
you
spoil
didn't.
it. Show us. It's a small one. You won't even believe how small it is. Show it. Show it. Show it. Show it.
tattoo. So,
Nick, turn away.
You
Okay.
actually
Look
have
at
a
this.
Subway tattoo?
Whoa!
Whoa.
Wait, what?
This
so
is
good.
James, I don't know how to feel about this.
What is
I
that?
thought it was based
feel
on
like
that
it
is
is free.
that
a
is
knee-jerk reaction
that's
was I lost
$50,000. That's $50,000 of Subway. Okay, that's free Subway for life,
shit.
baby. There it is.
What?
Yeah, but that's fake, James.
It's not fake.
I think
it's a real
initially I
tattoo.
lost respect,
Why?
and then I gained it.
it was like
Just
5
kinda
hours
pissed.
and it was so painful. I flew to Las Vegas because Subway had a promotion where they said if you get this 12 by 12 inch tattoo, then we will give you $50,000 worth of Subway for life. And I did it.
How
You're
big?
trolling.
I
You're
can't
trolling.
vote.
Wait,
No,
wait,
that's-
shut up. Everybody chill out. You're
That's a good
trolling,
investment.
James.
Yeah, he got the tattoo for fun. Actually, it is a troll. You're right, Alex. Good one.
No, that's not a real
He just
tattoo.
likes
It's a real tattoo.
No way.
Google it. We all saw it in the media. We watched the
Subway
stories.
sucks?
Articles on this.
Why would James get like a fake tattoo, stick it on his back, wait for 3 freaking hours for some random person to ask
It's
him
funny,
about it?
it is funny. So I wouldn't put it past him, but yeah, it seems real. It's a
Jesus,
good
that sounds
investment.
like the plot of it. That sounds like the plot of an Alex
Dude,
Stein
but
YouTube
Subway's
video.
not even good. I mean, it's not. What are you
yeah.
gonna get? You're gonna get. I know it's not even
That's
very
the worst
good.
chain.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
not-
you're
it's
just gonna get
sandwiches.
cold cut
Listen,
combos.
if you think
This is
Subway's
like
the worst
Happy
chain,
Gilmore.
that's on you. You fucking
It's not.
pick the
Hang on,
ingredients.
it's not Happy Gilmore. It's Community. That's when they had the guy name himself Subway. But James, are you allowed to make that into something else? Can you add to it, or are you forever?
Why would I want to do that, Brenton? Have you
How
seen
many
it?
sandwiches do you get a day? You get 1 foot long and you get unlimited meats, or is there a limit of meats and toppings on the sandwich?
It's $50,000.
Depends on what I get. Yeah. So
But there's a limit at
Are they still
50,000.
doing
The
this?
gift card
50,000 is a number, and that is the limit. Yes.
yeah.
Are they still doing
Wow.
Fortunately, they're not still doing it as a 1-day promotion.
this? Oh,
But basically, the math I did is the sub that I could get it every other day, a foot long for 40 years.
I can just see James. There's you said they let 8 people in. I can just see James
Whoa.
smiling outside as the 8th guy. The 9th dude is some fucking poor homeless guy that's trying to feed his family, and James is just
Can you
smiling
get it
in line.
removed? Can you get it removed,
Wait,
James?
do you need to show them the
Ireland won't even
tattoo every time you
call
go?
Subway bread.
Hold on. Do you need to
It's
show
yoga
them the
mats.
tattoo
It's
every
made
time
with
you go?
yoga mats. So that's why their bread's like that.
Okay,
It's yoga
let's pick
mat
it up.
material.
12:30 EST.
We're
James,
gonna,
what do we
we're gonna
got?
pack it up. So I do want to say, folks, a couple of things. One is if you happen to send a question, but it didn't get read on air, shoot me an email at moderator@gmail.com. And want to remind you, our guests are linked in the description. Want to say, we highly encourage you. You can check out their links. We appreciate your guys' questions and want to say thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. If you have not yet, hit that subscribe button. Oh, this is good. Just let me get this last one in. Winston Fujimori says, if Stardust misses it, Ghost Politics was right about Nick Fuentes and Groypers. Ghost won. Ralph lost. Baked Alaska is a
What was he
federal
right
informant.
about?
Power Chat is a honeypot. Shout outs to the farms. Josh
Oh, yeah.
Moon, Ghost, the anime right, Jaden McNeil, Mr. Mediker.
That guy's fat and ugly. So
This
there
one,
you go.